Welcome to tonight's journey, where history drifts into dreams. Close your eyes and imagine the distant world of ancient Greece, a place of marble temples, whispering streets, and secrets hidden behind grand stone walls. Tonight, you'll walk in the sandals of a young woman whose fate is sealed the moment she steps onto Athenian soil. You stand on the creaking deck of a wooden ship as it glides slowly toward the bustling port of Athens. The salty breeze tangles your hair and stings your lips, carrying with it the cries of gulls and the faint, metallic tang of oars slicing through the water. Behind you, the horizon is fading into nothingness, and with it, every piece of the life you once knew. The laughter of your sisters, the earthy smell of warm barley bread, even the worn wooden doorway of your childhood home, all of it now feels like a dream slipping away with the tide. The ship rocks gently, but your body trembles for a different reason. Your thin, rough-spun tunic clings damply to your skin, chilled by the morning mist. Your fingers grip the railing so tightly the knuckles pale. You know you are being brought to Athens, the heart of power and splendor, but not as a guest or a free citizen. You are here because someone saw value in your youth, your face, and perhaps even your quiet defiance. As the port grows closer, the noise swells around you. Dock workers shouting in sharp bursts of Greek, merchants calling out their wares, and the rhythmic slap of wet ropes against stone. Towering marble columns gleam like frozen fire in the rising sun, casting long, golden reflections across the harbor's surface. Athens, the city of philosophers and warriors, of democracy and glory. To the outside world, it is a place of wonder. To you, it feels like the mouth of a beast, ready to swallow you whole. A burly man barks an order, and you are herded down the gangplank with the others, your bare feet meeting the coarse wood and then the gritty stone of the dock. The smell here is overwhelming, a heady mix of salt water, fish guts, sweat, and the sharp bite of olive oil being loaded into clay jars. Your stomach twists. You glance around, heart pounding, taking in the chaos. Men in fine chitons stroll past with their heads high, their sandals perfectly clean, while slaves and laborers scurry beneath them, eyes lowered. Even among the noise, there is a hierarchy, an invisible map of who matters and who doesn't. For a fleeting moment, you wonder if anyone sees you, truly sees you. Then a voice calls your name, a name you haven't heard spoken since you were taken from your village. It is the trader who bought you, his tone impatient, sharp. You flinch instinctively and hurry toward him. His heavy hand lands on your shoulder, steering you like a stubborn mule. "Keep your head down," he mutters. "Athens is no place for foolish stares." You obey, but your eyes can't help flicking upward just once. Beyond the docks, the city spreads like a living creature. Narrow streets wind between pale stone houses, the air above them shimmering with heat. In the distance, a hill rises crowned with gleaming temples, their statues watching over the city with cold, perfect eyes. You shiver as you are marched through the crowded agora. The marketplace. The cacophony intensifies. The shouts of merchants selling figs and honeyed wine. The clatter of bronze smiths hammering out shields. The sharp bleating of goats tethered near a food stall. You inhale the mingled scents of sweet incense, roasting meat, and unwashed bodies until your head spins. Everywhere, people glance at you and the others in your group, assessing, judging. You feel their gazes like invisible hands, stripping away whatever dignity you tried to carry with you. The trader pauses at a fountain where women fill clay jars with water. One woman's eyes meet yours for a heartbeat, dark, curious, and then quickly averted. You want to call out to her, to anyone, but the trader's grip tightens. Your voice dies in your throat. A well-dressed nobleman approaches, his chiton dyed a deep, expensive purple. He carries himself like someone who has never known hunger or fear. The trader bows slightly. murmuring respectful greetings. You catch fragments of their conversation, words like beauty, youth, obedience. Then the nobleman's eyes fall on you, assessing in silence. His gaze is not unkind, but it is cold, distant, as though he's considering a piece of art rather than a living soul. He nods once. A deal is struck. You are led away, separated from the others without so much as a backward glance. The city swallows you whole, its twisting streets closing around you like a net. The nobleman's villa looms ahead, its outer walls gleaming white, its gates guarded by stone lions. As you cross the threshold, you feel a strange finality settle over you. The life you once knew has ended. Inside, the air is cooler, scented with olive oil, perfumed smoke, and something faintly metallic, bronze lamps burning in shadowed corners. Servants move silently, their eyes never meeting yours. You are guided through a maze of corridors until you reach a small room with a low bed, a bronze basin, and a single narrow window. It is not a prison, yet you know instinctively you are not free to leave. Night falls slowly over Athens. From your window, you can see the flickering lights of the city, hear the distant hum of voices, laughter, and the rhythmic beat of drums from some unseen celebration. You sit on the edge of the bed, your hands folded tightly in your lap, trying to still their trembling. This is the beginning. You are no longer a daughter, a sister, or a free girl from a quiet village. You are property now, an ornament, a pawn, a fragile thread in a web of power you can barely comprehend. Outside, the city thrives, dazzling and merciless. Inside, you begin to understand that survival will require more than silence and obedience. It will demand that you hide pieces of yourself so deeply even you might forget they ever existed. The night deepens, and with it, a heavy silence. You close your eyes and breathe slowly, trying to summon the strength you will need for whatever comes next. Dawn arrives with a pale gold light spilling through the narrow window, painting thin lines across the stone floor. You wake to the soft sound of sandals scuffing just outside your door, followed by a polite knock that feels more like a command. A young servant girl slips inside, her expression carefully blank, as if she has mastered the art of revealing nothing. She sets a small wooden tray before you, a bowl of barley porridge, a few figs, and a clay cup of water so cool that droplets form on its surface. You stare at the food, your stomach tightening. Hunger gnaws at you, but fear sits heavier. The servant's voice is low, almost mechanical. "Eat quickly," she murmurs. "The lady of the house wishes to see you." The lady of the house. The words clang inside your mind. This is not merely a family you've been brought into. It is a realm with rulers, laws, and hierarchies you barely understand. You swallow the figs without tasting them, forcing yourself to stand, even though your legs feel like reeds in a storm. The servant guides you through a labyrinth of corridors. The villa awakens around you, the clatter of amphorae being filled, the hiss of water poured into bronze basins, the murmured voices of women already at work. The smell of olive oil mingles with burning incense, sweet and heavy. You pass courtyards lined with pomegranate trees, their scarlet blossoms vivid against pale stone, and hear the distant cooing of doves kept in ornate cages. The agora comes into view through an open gate as you step into the outer courtyard. Even from here, you can hear its chaos. Merchants cry out, praising their goods. The rhythm of a blacksmith's hammer echoes like a heartbeat. And somewhere, far off, a philosopher's voice rises in debate, drifting through the morning air. The servant stops before a pair of carved wooden doors. "Keep your head lowered," she whispers, glancing nervously at you. "Speak only when spoken to." You nod, though your throat feels tight, as though every word would splinter if you tried to speak. The doors swing open to reveal a chamber filled with golden light and silent power. At its center sits the mistress of the house, the nobleman's wife. She is draped in layers of pale silk, her dark hair wound into a complicated braid crowned with tiny gold pins. Her posture is so precise it seems almost sculpted. You know instantly that this woman rules not only this room, but every heartbeat within these walls. Her eyes move over you like the edge of a blade. "So," she says softly, "this is the girl my husband has brought into our home." There is no warmth in her tone, but also no overt hostility. Yet, her words are neutral, like the moment before a storm. You bow low, trying to seem invisible. The floor's cool stone presses against your forehead. The silence stretches. Finally, she gestures for you to rise. "Look at me," she commands. You obey, lifting your gaze just enough to meet hers. She studies you, and you feel as though she sees more than your face, your thoughts, your fears, your unspoken questions. "You will serve here," she says, her voice smooth. "You will learn our ways. If you are clever, you may even find a place among the other women. If you are foolish—" She lets the words hang in the air, unfinished. A thin smile curves her lips, but it never touches her eyes. "Begin by observing," she says. "Speak little, listen much, and remember that loyalty is everything." You are dismissed with a flick of her hand. The servant girl escorts you back through the corridors, her pace brisk. As you pass through a covered walkway overlooking the inner courtyard, you glimpse other women gathered around a fountain. Their laughter rings high and sharp, like the clinking of bronze cups. Some glance at you with open curiosity, others with veiled disdain. You sense immediately that each of them is a player in a game you don't yet know the rules of. The servant leans close, whispering as though the very walls might be listening. "They will test you," she says. "The older concubines, the attendants, even the lady herself. Every word you speak will be weighed, every gesture measured. This place—" She hesitates, eyes flicking toward the fountain. "It's beautiful, yes, but it can also swallow you whole." Her warning chills you more than the morning breeze. The rest of the day passes in a blur of sights and sounds. You are shown the women's quarters, a warren of small rooms where silk veils hang like mist between sleeping mats. You are introduced to the routines of the household, the bathing rituals, the preparation of oils and perfumes, the folding of garments so precise it feels like ceremony. Each task has layers of meaning, invisible threads binding the women to the household's honor. By late afternoon, you find yourself back in the inner courtyard. The sun slants low, painting the marble fountain with warm light. The other women cluster in small groups, whispering behind delicate hands. You sit alone, pretending to study the patterns in the stone tiles. From their snippets of conversation, you piece together fragments of knowledge. The nobleman is ambitious, seeking greater influence in the assembly. The lady has powerful relatives who watch everything closely. And a festival approaches soon, a celebration of Dionysus, god of wine and chaos. As dusk falls, the courtyard fills with the scent of blooming jasmine. A hush settles over the women as the mistress appears once more, her silk robes rustling like dry leaves. She announces that tomorrow there will be preparations for the upcoming feast. Each woman is to play her part flawlessly. Her gaze lingers on you, and though she says nothing, you understand the threat beneath her words. Failure will not be forgiven. That night, sleep comes slowly. You lie awake on your narrow mat, listening to the faint rustle of fabric and the sighs of women dreaming uneasy dreams. Outside, the city hums like a distant ocean. You think of your village, of the stars above fields now far behind you. Those memories feel fragile, like pottery that might shatter if you hold them too tightly. As the hours creep by, you make a silent vow. You will survive this place. You will learn its rules, even if it means losing pieces of yourself along the way. Somewhere in the shadows, you sense that forces beyond your comprehension are already moving, weaving you into a tapestry of power and danger. The first threads have been laid. The pattern is only beginning to emerge. Morning light filters through gauzy curtains, turning the women's quarters into a haze of gold and shadow. The air smells faintly of rosewater and the sharper tang of olive oil warming over a small brazier. You are already awake when the first stirrings of the household begin, sitting quietly with your knees drawn to your chest. Last night's vow still burns in your mind like a hidden ember. The same young servant from before appears, her hands full of garments dyed in soft shades of cream and blue. "Dress quickly," she says in a hushed voice. "The master wishes to see you." Her eyes hold the briefest flicker of pity before she looks away, focusing on smoothing the delicate folds of fabric. Your fingers fumble with the unfamiliar clothing, the linen so fine it feels like mist against your skin. You've never worn anything this fragile. It makes you feel exposed, as though the cloth could dissolve at any moment, leaving you bare before the world. When you step into the corridor, 2 other women are waiting. Their beauty is carefully constructed, hair oiled and coiled into perfect spirals, eyes rimmed with dark pigment, lips tinted with crushed pomegranate seeds. They glance at you, measuring, and one gives a small, dismissive laugh. You understand without words, you are the newest piece in the household's intricate game. The journey through the villa takes you past rooms you have never seen before. In one, you glimpse rows of amphorae filled with wine, guarded by a stern-looking man with arms like carved marble. In another, you hear the sharp clack-clack of a loom, the rhythmic weaving of fine cloth for export or display. Everywhere, there is order and purpose, a machine of wealth and status humming beneath the villa's beautiful facade. Finally, you are ushered into a grand hall. The nobleman, the master, sits upon a low couch, surrounded by scrolls and clay tablets. He is dressed in a simple but elegant chiton, his hair neatly bound with a thin gold circlet. His presence fills the room more than the light spilling through the open windows. For a moment, silence reigns. Then he gestures for you to step forward. "So, this is the one," he says, his voice smooth, almost musical. "You've caused quite a stir, girl. My wife insists you are a distraction. Others see opportunity." His smile is polite but unreadable, like a mask carved by a master sculptor. You lower your head, unsure whether to speak. The women beside you kneel gracefully, setting an example you hastily follow. The nobleman rises and begins to circle you, the way a collector might examine a rare statue. "Your features are unusual," he murmurs, eyes like storm clouds, a mouth that speaks even when silent. He pauses, his gaze sharp. "You will serve this household. You will attend my wife in public, and me in private." A cold shiver races down your spine. The meaning is clear. There is no choice here, only obedience. He claps his hands, and 2 older attendants appear. "Prepare her for tonight's feast," he commands. "Athens will soon see what belongs to me." As you are led away, you catch snippets of conversation between the attendants. Words like reputation, assembly, and alliance drift past your ears. It becomes clear that you are not merely a personal possession. You are a symbol, a living token in some political game far beyond your understanding. The preparations begin at once. You are bathed in warm, perfumed water, the scent of myrrh clinging to your skin. Oils are rubbed into your arms and legs until they gleam. Your hair is combed, braided, and threaded with thin gold wires. Each touch feels like erasure, scrubbing away the girl you were and replacing her with an illusion of perfection. As you sit still beneath the attendant's careful hands, you overhear a curious fragment of gossip. One whispers about a concubine in Corinth who rose so high in her master's favor that she influenced political decisions, even whispering strategies for battles. The other scoffs, claiming such stories are fantasies told to keep women compliant with false hope. Historians still argue whether that ever truly happened, one says with a dry laugh. The words stick in your mind like a thorn. Could power ever truly belong to someone like you? By late afternoon, you are dressed in a flowing gown of deep red, its hem embroidered with silver threads that shimmer like moonlight. When you catch sight of yourself in a polished bronze mirror, you barely recognize the reflection. The girl from the village is gone. In her place stands a vision crafted for others to admire, and perhaps to covet. The feast begins as the sun sets. The villa's great hall fills with wealthy men reclining on couches, their voices rising in laughter and debate. Platters of roasted lamb and honey cakes are carried in by silent servants. The air grows thick with the mingled scents of wine, meat, and incense. You are positioned beside the nobleman, slightly behind him, like a painting meant to frame his greatness. At first, you are invisible, a silent ornament. But as the evening wears on, you begin to notice the glances, the curious, assessing looks from guests who wonder about the new addition to this powerful household. The conversations swirl around you, discussions of war with Sparta, philosophical arguments about virtue and justice, wagers on upcoming athletic games. You catch only fragments, but enough to sense the currents of power running beneath their words. Then, unexpectedly, a guest addresses you directly. "And who is this lovely flower hidden in your garden?" he asks, his tone playful but edged with curiosity. The nobleman's hand tightens briefly on yours. "A gift," he says smoothly, "and a reminder that even beauty must serve purpose." Laughter ripples through the hall, but you feel like ice inside. You force your face into calm neutrality, though every muscle trembles. As the feast continues, wine flows freely. The guests grow louder, their gestures wilder. A musician plays a haunting tune on a flute, the melody winding through the noise like a thread of silver. You sense that chaos lurks just beneath the surface, ready to break free. At one point, a servant stumbles and spills wine on a guest's cloak. The hall goes silent for a heartbeat. Then, with a dismissive wave, the nobleman restores order. The laughter resumes, but the moment leaves you shaken. You realize how quickly favor can turn to fury in this world. By the night's end, your cheeks ache from holding a mask of serenity. When you are finally dismissed to your quarters, the moon is high and cold. You strip away the heavy garments, your skin marked where the gold wires pressed too tightly. Lying on your narrow bed, you stare at the ceiling, replaying every glance, every word. You are no longer merely surviving, you are being watched, measured, and shaped. Outside, Athens sleeps uneasily. Inside, you whisper to yourself, a promise you barely dare to believe. One day, you will not just endure this game, you will learn to play it. The dawn of the following day brings with it a strange calm, the kind that seems to hover in the air before something significant happens. You awaken not to the bustling sounds of servants or the distant clang of bronze hammers from the agora, but to the soft trickle of water. In the corner of your chamber, two attendants are preparing a bronze basin, steam rising in delicate tendrils. The scent of warm honey and crushed herbs drifts through the room, sweet yet slightly bitter. Today, they tell you, is the day of transformation. You are to undergo a series of elaborate grooming rituals that will prepare you for your role not just as a possession, but as a symbol of your master's wealth and taste. The thought makes your stomach churn, but you hide your reaction, remembering the mistress's cold, measuring gaze. Any hint of resistance could be your undoing. The attendants help you disrobe, their hands brisk but not unkind. The air feels cool against your bare skin. You step into the warm water, and for a brief, fleeting moment, It feels almost soothing. Then the process begins. First comes cleansing. One attendant scrubs your skin with rough sponges dipped in salted water, muttering softly about purifying away the past. The sting makes you flinch, but you remain silent. Next, honey mixed with finely ground almonds is spread across your arms and legs to soften the skin. It feels sticky and strange, like wearing a second, golden layer. You can almost pretend it is armor, but you know better. Then comes the part that makes your heart pound. Depilation. Heated resin is applied to your legs, your underarms, even the soft line of hair along your arms. When the resin is pulled away, the sharp pain brings tears to your eyes. One attendant offers a sympathetic glance, but says nothing. You remember something you overheard earlier, a servant whispering about women of certain temples who use crocodile dung mixed with sour milk as a primitive form of sunscreen. The image is absurd enough to almost make you laugh, but the sharp tug of the resin brings you back to the present with a jolt. Still, the older attendant murmurs, you must still. Beauty is a discipline, not a gift. When your body is deemed suitably prepared, they move on to your hair. Oils are massaged into your scalp, scented with rosemary and myrrh. They comb through each strand with meticulous care, then braid your hair into intricate patterns threaded with thin ribbons dyed a deep crimson. The weight of it feels foreign, as though they are building a crown you will never truly own. Next comes your face. A powder made from ground rice and chalk is dusted across your skin to create a pale, smooth canvas. Your lips are stained with crushed pomegranate seeds, leaving them a dark, almost bloody red. Around your eyes, they paint delicate lines with soot and olive oil, transforming your gaze into something mysterious and striking. When they step back, you catch sight of yourself in a polished bronze mirror. The reflection staring back at you is unrecognizable. You look like one of the marble statues you passed in the agora. Beautiful, untouchable, and utterly silent. Perfect, one attendant says softly. The master will be pleased. The other nods, though there is something in her eyes, a flicker of doubt, perhaps even pity. That makes you wonder what she truly thinks. The rituals don't end there. You are led to a small room lined with shelves of clay jars and amphorae. Here, perfumes are chosen carefully, a base of warm amber, layered with notes of jasmine and citrus. The scents are so strong they make your head swim. A thin chain of gold is draped around your neck, and small bells are tied to your ankles. The bells are meant to tinkle softly as you walk, announcing your presence like a delicate creature on display. The final touch is a long and flowing robe of sheer linen dyed in pale blue, the color of early morning sky. Its edges are embroidered with silver thread in patterns resembling waves. It is stunning. Yes, but you realize it is also a cage. A garment that announces your status as something owned, something meant to be admired rather than free. By midday, you are presented to the mistress of the house. She sits in the inner courtyard, surrounded by pomegranate trees heavy with fruit. When her gaze falls upon you, her lips curve in a slow, deliberate smile. Acceptable, she says after a long pause. You will represent this household well. But remember, beauty fades quickly. What remains is obedience. Her words settle on your skin like a second, invisible layer, heavier than the robe you wear. After she dismisses you, the younger concubines approach, their eyes glittering with a mix of curiosity and envy. One, a tall woman with hair as black as obsidian, tilts her head and says, "Do not be fooled by the kindness of these rituals. They are not gifts, they are chains disguised as silk." The others laugh, but there is no warmth in the sound. Later, as you sit alone by the fountain, you reflect on her words. The water ripples, distorting your reflection until it looks like someone else entirely. Perhaps that is the point. The girl you were is gone, replaced by a figure shaped by others' desires. As evening falls, you are summoned to attend a small private gathering. The nobleman wishes to show his prize to a select group of allies before the grand festival begins. As you walk through the torch-lit halls, the soft bells at your ankles chiming, you remember the older attendant's words, "Beauty is a discipline, not a gift." Historians still argue whether these elaborate grooming rituals were solely about aesthetics or if they also served a deeper purpose, a way to break the spirit, to remind women of their role within the rigid hierarchies of ancient Greek households. You, standing there in the midst of flickering torchlight and murmured conversations, know the truth instinctively. These rituals are both a transformation of the body and a quiet theft of the soul. By the time you return to your chamber, exhaustion clings to you like a second skin. You lie awake, staring at the ceiling, the faint scent of jasmine and honey still clinging to your hair. Outside, the city sleeps beneath a canopy of stars, but within these walls, the game continues. The bells at your ankles are silent now, but you can almost hear their ghostly chime, a reminder that even in stillness, you are never truly free. The next morning begins not with the comforting sounds of domestic routine, but with the sharp clatter of wooden sandals on the marble floor outside your chamber. You jolt awake, heart racing, to find the young servant girl standing in the doorway, clutching a polished bronze flute and a thin stack of scrolls bound with a leather strap. Her eyes flick nervously toward you as she whispers, "The mistress commands you to begin your lessons today." Lessons. The word fills you with both curiosity and dread. You follow her through the twisting corridors to a sunlit chamber at the edge of the villa. The walls are lined with mosaics depicting scenes of gods and mortals. Athena crowned in victory, Dionysus laughing amid a wild festival, Aphrodite rising from the sea. In the center of the room sits an elderly woman, her posture so rigid it seems carved from stone. "This," the servant murmurs, "is Callista. She will shape you into what the household requires." Callista's sharp eyes sweep over you, assessing every detail of your appearance. She speaks in a voice like flint striking steel. "You may be pleasing to look at," she says, "but beauty alone is nothing. A concubine must be more than decoration. You must entertain, distract, and soothe. You must make men believe they are brilliant, even as you quietly guide their thoughts. Sit." You obey, folding your legs beneath you on a woven mat. The first lesson begins with music. Callista hands you the flute, demonstrating how to position your fingers and breathe evenly. Your first attempt produces a sound so shrill that even the doves in the courtyard startle. Callista does not scold, but her expression tightens. "Again," she commands. You repeat the motion, again and again, until the notes begin to flow like a hesitant stream. "The music is meant to charm guests during symposia," she explains, "to set the mood and mask awkward silences. You realize this skill is not about artistry, it is about control, subtle and invisible." After music comes conversation. Callista unrolls one of the scrolls, its surface covered in neat, flowing Greek letters. She points to passages and recites them, forcing you to mimic her pronunciation. The words are fragments of poetry, myths, and witty sayings, phrases designed to delight men who fancy themselves philosophers. "You must know just enough to intrigue," Callista says, "but never so much that you appear to challenge them. Men like to believe they are teaching you, even as you manipulate them." Her tone is clinical, detached, as though she is instructing you in weaving rather than the delicate art of survival. As the day wears on, the lessons grow stranger. Callista teaches you how to pour wine without spilling a drop, how to laugh at a guest's joke even when you do not understand it, how to tilt your head at precisely the right angle to seem curious but never threatening. "Men are predictable," she says with a wry smile. "Flatter them, and they will reveal their secrets. Displease them, and they will destroy you." During a brief pause, You ask a question you've been holding back. Were you ever like me? For a heartbeat, something softens in Callista's eyes. Then it vanishes. That is irrelevant, she replies coldly. Focus on what lies ahead, not what came before. You sense there is a story there, buried deep beneath layers of discipline and silence, but you know better than to press further. By late afternoon, your mind feels bruised from the weight of new knowledge. You are given a small meal, olives, cheese, and a heel of bread, before being ushered into the inner courtyard. Several of the other concubines are already gathered, their faces painted, their hair gleaming with oil. They watch you with thinly veiled curiosity as Callista announces that you will perform what you have learned. Your heart pounds as you lift the flute to your lips. The first note trembles. But then you remember Callista's steady breathing technique. The melody flows, weaving through the courtyard like a spell. When you finish, there is a brief silence, followed by polite applause. It is not warmth, exactly, but it is not disdain either. You have survived your first test. The next trial is conversation. One of the older concubines, a woman named Lydra with a smile like a serpent, steps forward to play the role of a demanding guest. Tell me, she says sweetly, what do you think of the Assembly's latest decision on trade with Corinth? You recall a fragment of one of Callista's scrolls, a clever saying about commerce and politics. You repeat it, adding a laugh that sounds natural enough to your own ears. Lydra tilts her head, clearly impressed, though her eyes remain sharp. Well done, she purrs. Perhaps you will not embarrass us after all. As the evening approaches, the mistress herself appears. Her gaze sweeps over the group, lingering on you. Tomorrow night, she announces, our household will host a private gathering before the festival of Dionysus. You will each play your part to perfection. Her eyes narrow slightly. Especially you, newest among us. Do not mistake survival for victory. The words linger like smoke long after she leaves. Later, as you help clear the courtyard, you overhear two concubines whispering about a recent scandal. A concubine in another household was caught spreading information between rival factions. The punishment, they say, was swift and merciless. Banishment, if she was lucky. Death, if she was not. Historians still argue whether the story is true, one whispers. But either way, it keeps us obedient. The idea chills you. Information is as dangerous as poison in this world. When you return to your chamber, exhaustion pulls at your limbs, but your mind refuses to rest. You think of Callista's teachings, of the carefully crafted smiles and calculated gestures. This is not simply training, it is transformation. They are molding you into a tool, a weapon disguised as beauty. As you drift toward uneasy sleep, a single thought anchors you. If you must play this game, you will do so with eyes open. You will learn every secret, every hidden rule. One day, perhaps, you will wield them for yourself. Outside, the city hums with anticipation for the coming festival. Inside, you prepare for the role you never asked for, knowing that tomorrow's gathering will be your first true test in a world where a single misstep can mean ruin. The next evening arrives with an undercurrent of tension so thick you can almost taste it in the air. The entire villa hums with activity. Servants rush past carrying amphorae of wine and trays of honey cakes, their sandals slapping against the polished stone. Somewhere deep within the household, a flute plays a lilting tune, punctuated by the rhythmic thrum of a drum. Tonight's gathering is more than a simple dinner. It is a prelude to the festival of Dionysus, a night when wine and words will flow freely, and hidden truths might spill out as easily as spilled wine. You have been prepared since midday, enduring another round of oils, powders, and elaborate braiding. The bells at your ankles chime softly with each step, a sound that has begun to feel like the echo of a cage door closing. Your crimson gown clings lightly to your body, the fabric so sheer it might as well be mist. Around your neck, a necklace of tiny silver leaves catches the flickering torchlight, drawing attention to your every movement. Callista appears beside you just as you are about to enter the great hall. Her voice is low but firm. "Remember what you have learned," she whispers. "You are here to be seen, not heard, unless spoken to directly. Smile when they praise you, laugh when they laugh, and above all, watch. You will learn more from silence than from speech." You nod, though your heart pounds like a war drum. The doors to the hall swing open, revealing a scene so dazzling it steals your breath. Men recline on couches draped in silk, their heads wreathed in garlands of ivy. The scent of roasted lamb and spiced figs fills the air, mingling with the rich aroma of wine poured into golden craters. Tall bronze lamps cast shifting shadows on the mosaics beneath your feet, turning the floor into a swirling sea of light and darkness. The nobleman sits at the center of it all, his presence commanding. When he rises to greet his guests, the conversations hush. "Welcome," he declares, his voice warm yet laced with authority. "Tonight, let us set aside politics and quarrels. Tonight, we honor Dionysus with laughter, with music, and with truth unburdened by consequence." The crowd erupts in cheers, though you sense a double meaning beneath his words. Here, truth is never unburdened. It is wielded like a blade, carefully unsheathed when it serves one's purpose. You are guided to a low couch beside him, positioned slightly behind so you remain visible but unobtrusive. From this vantage point, you can study the guests without appearing to stare. Some wear simple chitons, their wealth understated but undeniable. Others flaunt their status with lavish jewelry and cloaks dyed in rare colors like deep purple or sea green. Their laughter is loud, but their eyes are sharp, always calculating. A servant approaches with a tray of wine. As you reach to pour for a guest, you remember Callista's lessons. You tilt the jug at just the right angle, ensuring not a drop spills. The guest, a round-faced man with ink-stained fingers, gives a satisfied nod. "Ah, skilled hands," he says, his voice slurred with drink. "A fine addition to your household, my friend." The nobleman smiles thinly. "She is more than she appears," he replies, "as are we all." The evening unfolds in waves of conversation and performance. A young musician plays a haunting melody on a lyre, while dancers weave through the crowd, their bodies moving like flickering flames. Philosophical debates break out between groups of men, their voices rising and falling in passionate bursts. You catch fragments of their arguments about justice, fate, and the balance of power between Athens and Sparta. At one point, a guest begins to recite a bawdy poem about Dionysus and a mortal woman. The crowd roars with laughter, some guests nearly spilling their wine as they shout for more. You force yourself to laugh along, though the crude humor twists in your stomach. As the night deepens, the line between order and chaos begins to blur. Wine flows more freely, words grow looser, and secrets begin to slip past lips unguarded by sobriety. You notice a subtle shift when a tall, severe-looking man enters the hall. His arrival silences the room for a heartbeat before the conversations resume with forced cheerfulness. The nobleman rises to greet him, bowing slightly. "Strategos Nicandros," he says, his tone both respectful and wary. The name ripples through the crowd like a stone dropped into water. Even you, new to this world, have heard whispers of Nicandros, a military leader whose loyalty to Athens is matched only by his ambition. Nicandros's gaze sweeps the room and lands briefly on you. It is not a lecherous look, but an assessing one, as if he is cataloging you along with every other asset in the room. A chill prickles your skin. The conversations take on a sharper edge as politics begin to creep into the revelry. Guests discuss troop movements, alliances, and the upcoming festival's role in swaying public opinion. One man speaks of rebellion in a distant colony, his voice hushed but urgent. Historians still argue whether these gatherings were truly about celebration or if they served as covert councils. Callista had once told you, "Tonight, you understand her meaning. Your role remains the same, to smile, to pour wine, to listen." Yet beneath the mask of obedience, you begin to map the invisible threads connecting each guest. Who defers to whom? Who interrupts? Who avoids whose gaze? The patterns are intricate, like the mosaics beneath your feet. Then, unexpectedly, the mistress of the house enters. Her presence cuts through the noise like a blade through silk. She wears a gown of deep green, her hair crowned with gold pins shaped like laurel leaves. The room's energy shifts instantly, the men straightening on their couches, their laughter dimming. She crosses the hall with measured grace and takes a seat beside her husband. Her gaze flickers toward you, unreadable. For a moment, you fear she will speak against you, expose you before them all. Instead, she turns to the guests and says, "Let us toast to the gods who watch over Athens, and to the women who make our victories worth celebrating." The men cheer, raising their cups. You raise yours as well, though your throat feels tight. As the night winds on, you catch snippets of darker conversations. Nicandros speaking in low tones to the noblemen about unrest among the city's poorer districts. Another guest hinting at a plan to influence the assembly's next vote through subtle bribery. Each fragment is a puzzle piece, and though you cannot see the full picture, you sense danger lurking beneath the surface. By the time the gathering ends, the hall is littered with empty cups and half-eaten platters. Guests depart in groups, their laughter fading into the night. The nobleman remains seated, his expression thoughtful. "Remember tonight," he murmurs to you as you pass. "The festival will reveal much. Watch carefully." Back in your chamber, you collapse onto your mat, exhaustion crashing over you. The scent of wine and incense clings to your hair, impossible to wash away. You close your eyes, but sleep brings no peace, only dreams of swirling masks, whispering voices, and the cold, assessing gaze of Nicandros. The morning after the gathering arrives far too quickly, sunlight stabbing through the narrow window like sharp blades. Your body aches from hours of standing perfectly still, smiling until your cheeks burned, and keeping your breath steady beneath the weight of every watchful gaze. You rise slowly, each movement reminding you that last night was not merely a performance, but a battlefield fought with glances and words instead of swords. The women's quarters are already alive with hushed whispers and muffled laughter. The other concubines cluster in small groups around the courtyard fountain, their silk garments rustling like the wings of restless birds. You can feel their eyes on you even before you step fully into view. Their stares are sharp, curious, assessing, like merchants appraising a rare jewel they may one day wish to steal or shatter. Lydra, the serpent-smiled woman who tested you during your lessons, approaches first. Her beauty is undeniable, hair polished to a dark sheen, lips stained the color of ripe figs, movements graceful as a trained dancer's. But her smile carries no warmth. "Well," she says, her tone syrupy sweet. "You survived your first night without tripping over your own bells, a triumph worthy of song." The other women giggle, though one or two hide their faces, clearly uncomfortable. You sense the undercurrent beneath her words, praise laced with poison. "I am grateful for the chance to serve," you reply carefully, keeping your tone as neutral as possible. Lydra tilts her head, eyes narrowing. "Gratitude is admirable, but be careful. It can so easily be mistaken for ambition." Before you can respond, another concubine joins the circle, a petite woman named Thessa, whose laughter always seems half a beat too quick. She clutches your arm as though you are already dear friends. Pay no mind to Lydra, Thessa whispers conspiratorially. She simply enjoys seeing how newcomers squirm. Tell me, what did the nobleman whisper to you at the end of the night? We all saw him lean close. The group leans in, hungry for gossip. You force a small laugh. He told me to watch carefully during the festival. A ripple of surprise passes through the group. Lydra's eyes flash with something sharp. Envy. Perhaps. Or suspicion. Watch carefully, she repeats slowly, as if tasting the words. How very interesting. The conversation shifts quickly, as though nothing important has been said. Yet you can feel the tension winding tighter, invisible threads drawing you into a web of rivalries and alliances. As the day progresses, you begin to notice patterns among the women. Some, like Thessa, thrive on gossip and petty intrigue, always seeking scraps of attention from the mistress or the nobleman. Others remain quiet, their loyalty uncertain, their silence perhaps more dangerous than open hostility. And then there is Lydra, who moves between groups with practiced ease, her words always double-edged. In the afternoon, Callista summons you for further training. Her expression is stern, but her voice holds a trace of approval. You handled yourself well last night, she says. But do not be lulled into complacency. The true test is not pleasing men, it is surviving the women who stand beside you. You nod, though unease coils in your stomach. Why would they hate me, you ask quietly, Callista's lips thin. Because you exist. In a house like this, there is only so much favor to go around. Every smile from the master, every compliment from a guest, is a resource to be hoarded or stolen, and resources breed war. Her words prove true sooner than you expect. That evening, while assisting with preparations for the festival, you overhear two concubines whispering in a shadowed hallway. Their voices are low, urgent. If she gains the mistress's trust, Lydra will lose everything. She won't allow that to happen. She'll strike first. The conversation chills you to your core. You slip away before they notice you, your mind spinning. You have no desire to compete for power or favor, yet simply existing in this space has made you a threat. Later, during a brief moment of solitude, Thessa finds you sitting by the fountain. The water glitters in the moonlight, its surface disturbed by falling petals from the pomegranate trees above. You should be careful, she murmurs, glancing around to ensure you are alone. Lydra has been here the longest. She knows everyone's secrets, even the mistress's. She can ruin you with a single whisper. You study Thessa's face, searching for sincerity. Why warn me? Thessa shrugs, a nervous laugh escaping her lips. Because once, someone warned me, and it saved my life. Consider this, repayment of a debt. Her words linger long after she leaves. Gratitude mixes with suspicion, for in this household, even kindness can be a weapon. That night, you dream of a labyrinth filled with mirrors. Each reflection shows a different version of yourself, one smiling, one weeping, one with eyes as cold as marble. Lydra's laughter echoes through the maze, growing louder until it drowns out everything else. When you awaken, sweat clings to your skin. The courtyard is silent, but you sense unseen movements, like the shifting of shadows before dawn. The following morning, the mistress announces that each concubine will have a role to play in the upcoming festival. She assigns tasks with cool precision, her gaze pausing briefly on you. You will accompany me directly, she says. Stay close, observe, and do nothing to embarrass this household. Lydra's eyes narrow, though her smile remains perfectly intact. As the women disperse, Callista leans close to you. Be cautious, she whispers. Tonight's festival is a stage, and every performer is both actor and audience. Do not forget that the most dangerous scenes often play out in silence. As dusk approaches, the villa buzzes with preparation. The concubines dress in dazzling garments, their hair woven with ribbons and gold threads. The air is thick with perfume and anticipation. You catch Lydra watching you from across the room, her expression unreadable. Historians still argue whether the intrigues of concubines shaped the politics of ancient Athens or were merely personal dramas confined to the household. But standing here, heart-pounding, you know the truth. Private rivalries can ripple outward, toppling cities as easily as they topple lives. When the gates open and the procession begins, you walk beside the mistress, the soft bells at your ankles marking each step. The festival awaits, and with it, a night where every smile hides a secret and every glance carries a threat. The streets of Athens are unrecognizable beneath the chaos of the festival of Dionysus. What is usually a city of orderly markets and stately temples has been transformed into a living, breathing organism of noise and motion. Torches flare in every direction, their flames painting the night with wild, shifting shadows. The air reeks of wine, sweat, and burning incense. The usual hierarchy of rich and poor dissolves beneath masks and costumes. You walk beside the mistress, your steps measured, the silver bells at your ankles chiming softly even amid the roar of celebration. Behind you trail the other concubines, each draped in a riot of colors, their faces painted in symbolic patterns of ivy and grapes. The mistress herself wears a crown of golden leaves, her expression serene but unreadable. Around you, crowds surge forward, some bowing reverently as you pass, others laughing drunkenly, too lost in revelry to notice the household's display of wealth and power. Dionysus, god of wine and ecstasy, is honored through excess. Men and women alike wear elaborate masks, some shaped like lions, others like satyrs, others grotesque parodies of politicians and philosophers. A group of dancers spins wildly in the street, their bodies painted with swirling patterns, their laughter sharp and manic. Musicians play frenzied tunes on pipes and drums, the rhythm infectious, dizzying. For a moment, you almost forget your fear. Almost. The mistress leans close, her voice a soft hiss barely audible over the noise. "Do not be fooled by the laughter," she warns. "Tonight, people speak truths they dare not voice by daylight. Watch carefully, and remember everything." You nod, heart pounding. As the procession winds deeper into the city, you see temples adorned with ivy garlands and statues of Dionysus draped in purple cloth. At one temple, a priestess stands atop the steps, scattering petals while chanting prayers. The crowd kneels briefly, a ripple of reverence amid the chaos. Then, just as quickly, the laughter returns, louder than before. The nobleman and his allies gather in a raised pavilion overlooking the main square. You and the other concubines remain slightly behind, standing like living ornaments while the men discuss matters that sound almost like poetry but are sharp as knives. Their words drift to you in fragments. Ships, tribute, Sparta, assembly, rebellion. Nicandros, the military leader who had unnerved you during the private gathering, is here as well. His mask is plain compared to others, but his presence is commanding. When his gaze sweeps over you, you force yourself not to flinch. The mistress takes your arm lightly, guiding you to stand beside her. "See him?" she murmurs. "He is not a man to cross. Many have tried. None have succeeded." Below, performers act out a play in honor of Dionysus. The story is bawdy and exaggerated, a parody of Athens' own politicians and generals. The crowd roars with laughter, though some faces are tight with barely concealed anger. You sense the play is more than entertainment. It is a weapon, a way to speak rebellion without openly defying the city's rulers. Historians still argue whether these festival plays were merely harmless satire or dangerous sparks that ignited political change. The performance grows more chaotic as night deepens. Revelers dance in the streets, wine splashing from clay cups. Some climb statues, shouting proclamations of freedom and love. Others collapse in drunken heaps, their masks slipping to reveal flushed, vulnerable faces. As you watch, A man stumbles near the pavilion, his mask shaped like a grotesque parody of Nicandros. The crowd gasps. For a heartbeat, silence falls. Then Nicandros laughs. A deep, rolling sound that releases the tension. The man bows clumsily and scurries away. But you catch a flash of true anger in Nicandros's eyes. The mistress's grip on your arm tightens. "Fools," she mutters. "They think laughter will protect them." The nobleman leans close to speak to her. His words too low for you to hear. Whatever he says makes her expression harden like stone. She nods once, sharply. As the festival reaches its peak, you are sent to mingle among the crowd with the other concubines. It is both terrifying and liberating to move freely, unchained by the walls of the villa. Masks blur identities, allowing strangers to speak openly. A drunken merchant grabs your hand, babbling about tax burdens and corrupt officials before his friend drags him away. A veiled woman whispers rumors of a plot against the assembly, then disappears into the crowd like smoke. Lydra appears suddenly at your side, her mask shaped like a sly fox. "Enjoying yourself?" she asks, her tone dripping with false sweetness. You force a smile. "It is. Overwhelming." Her eyes gleam behind the mask. "Overwhelming?" "Yes, and dangerous. So many secrets flying through the air tonight. Imagine what one might do with the right secret whispered in the right ear." Before you can respond, she vanishes into the crowd, leaving you chilled. A group of dancers sweeps past, drawing you into their circle for a brief, dizzying moment. You spin with them, the bells at your ankles jingling wildly, until you stumble free, gasping. The world tilts, the torchlight blurring. Then you hear it, a sharp, angry shout from near the pavilion. You push through the crowd in time to see a confrontation unfolding. A group of masked revelers has cornered one of Nicandros's men, hurling accusations of betrayal and oppression. The tension crackles like lightning. Nicandros himself steps forward, raising a hand. His voice cuts through the chaos, calm yet commanding. "Tonight is for celebration," he says. "Let us not stain it with blood." The crowd murmurs, uncertain. Finally, they disperse, though their glares linger. The mistress appears beside you, her face pale beneath her golden crown. "Remember this," she whispers. "What happens in the streets always finds its way into the halls of power." As the night wanes, the nobleman signals for his household to withdraw. You follow the others back through winding streets, the revelry fading behind you like a fevered dream. The villa's gates close with a heavy finality, shutting out the chaos but not the unease it left behind. In your chamber, you sink to the floor, too exhausted to move. Images whirl in your mind, the laughing masks, the dangerous glint in Nicandros's eyes, Lydra's cryptic words. You realize that tonight was more than a festival. It was a glimpse into the tangled web of politics, desire, and power that rules this city. And you are caught in its center, whether you wish it or not. The morning after the festival dawns eerily quiet. The streets of Athens lie hushed beneath a veil of ash-gray mist, as though the city itself has drawn a long, weary breath after its night of wild abandon. But inside the villa, the silence is not peaceful. It is the tense, coiled stillness of a predator preparing to strike. You wake to the sound of hurried footsteps in the corridor and the sharp, clipped voices of servants trying and failing to hide their alarm. Something has shifted since last night. The air feels heavy, like the charged atmosphere before a storm. When the young servant girl enters your chamber, her face is pale. She sets down your breakfast tray with trembling hands and whispers, "Stay in your room. There is trouble." "What kind of trouble?" you ask. But she only shakes her head and flees before you can press her further. Moments later, a loud crash echoes through the villa. You rush to the doorway and peer out just in time to see Lydra, her face flushed with fury, sweeping past with two attendants trailing her like frightened shadows. Her silk robe swirls behind her like a storm cloud. You know better than to follow openly, but curiosity gnaws at you. Keeping to the edges of the corridor, you creep after them until you reach the great hall. There, voices clash like clashing swords. The mistress of the house stands at the center, her golden crown gone, her hair unbound and wild around her shoulders. She is every bit as regal, but her composure is cracked, her anger barely contained. You dare shame me in front of Athens? Lydra's reply is smooth, but her eyes gleam with defiance. I only did what was required to honor the god Dionysus, she says sweetly. Surely you would not accuse me of impiety. Gasps ripple through the watching servants and concubines. To accuse someone of disrespecting a god is a grave insult, but to do so falsely is even more dangerous. The mistress steps forward, her voice lowering to a deadly calm. Do not twist your actions into virtue, Lydra. I saw the way you courted the attention of Nicandros. You endangered this household with your recklessness. At the mention of Nicandros, a flicker of something crosses Lydra's face. Pride, perhaps, or guilt. She recovers quickly, bowing her head in mock humility. If my behavior displeased you, madam, I beg forgiveness. The words are polite, but the tone is a blade hidden in silk. The mistress's composure finally breaks. She strikes Lydra across the face, the sharp sound echoing through the hall. Lydra staggers, then straightens with terrifying calm. One day, she says softly, you will regret this. The tension is unbearable. Finally, the nobleman himself enters, his presence like a sudden storm. Enough, he commands, his voice cutting through the chaos. This is not the place for such quarrels. He looks at Lydra, his expression unreadable. Go to your quarters. You will not leave them without my permission. Lydra bows deeply, but her smile lingers like poison. As she departs, her gaze flicks toward you. The look she gives you is cold, calculating, a silent promise that this is not over. When the hall empties, you remain hidden, your breath shallow. You have just witnessed the fault lines within this household, cracks that could widen into destruction. Later, Callista finds you in the women's quarters. Her expression is grave. You must tread carefully, Wo, she warns. The mistress's anger is a dangerous thing, but Lydra's ambition is worse. Do not be caught between them. I don't understand, you whisper. Why would Lydra risk so much? Callista sighs, her gaze distant. Because power is a drug more potent than wine, and like wine, it clouds the mind until destruction seems like triumph. As the day wears on, whispers spread like wildfire. Some say Lydra is plotting revenge. Others claim the mistress intends to have her quietly dismissed. Or worse, the atmosphere becomes suffocating, every glance charged with suspicion. Even Thessa, usually so quick to laugh, grows pale and silent. In the late afternoon, you are summoned to the mistress's private chamber. She sits by a window, sunlight casting sharp angles across her face. You saw what happened this morning, she says without preamble. You nod cautiously. Then you understand why you must stay close to me during the coming days. Lydra will try to undermine me, perhaps even turn others against me. You will be my eyes and ears. The request, or command, terrifies you. But why me? Because you are new, she replies, untainted by old loyalties, and because they underestimate you. Her smile is thin, brittle. That will be your greatest weapon. As you leave her chamber, a realization strikes you. You are no longer merely surviving within this household. You are being drawn into its battles, whether you wish it or not. That evening, the villa is tense and silent. The nobleman holds a private meeting with Nicandros, their voices drifting faintly through the corridors. You catch only fragments: rebellion, troops, assembly vote. The words carry the weight of something far larger than household drama. Historians still argue whether women like you played meaningful roles in the political struggles of ancient Athens or were merely pawns. But as you listen to the murmurs of strategy and betrayal, you know that even pawns can tip the balance of the board. In the darkness of your chamber, you sit awake long after the others have fallen into uneasy sleep. Outside, the city stirs with whispers of unrest. Inside, the household teeters on the edge of civil war. You think of Lydra's cold smile, of the mistress's brittle command, of Nicandros's calculating gaze, and you understand, with a clarity that chills you to the bone, that the festival was only the beginning. The real chaos is about to begin. Dawn breaks slowly, like a hesitant confession. Pale gold light drips through the narrow windows of the women's quarters, casting thin bars across the stone floor. You wake with a start. The remnants of restless dreams still clinging to you, fragments of laughter, the flash of Lydra's sly smile, the echo of Nicandros's deep, measured voice. Your heart pounds as if you had been running, though you've been lying perfectly still. The quarters are unusually quiet this morning. Even the usual soft chatter of servants is absent, replaced by a strange, oppressive hush. It feels as though the entire villa is holding its breath. You dress slowly, choosing a simple linen chiton rather than the elaborate silks reserved for public appearances. Today, you crave anonymity. When you step into the courtyard, the air is cool and damp with dew. The fountain at its center murmurs softly, water spilling over carved marble basins in a rhythmic lullaby. Pomegranate petals drift lazily across its surface, swirling like tiny crimson boats. The beauty of the scene feels almost cruel in its serenity, given the storm brewing within these walls. You sit on the low edge of the fountain, letting the sound of water drown out your thoughts. For the first time since arriving in Athens, you are alone. No mistress watching your every move, no Callista correcting your posture, no Lydra circling like a hawk. Just silence, and the awareness of your own fragile heartbeat. You close your eyes and try to remember the scent of your village at dawn, the sweet smoke of bread ovens, the earthy smell of damp soil, the bleating of goats in distant fields. The memories come hazily, like images painted on mist. They feel unreal now, like stories told to comfort a child. Your solitude is interrupted by the flutter of sandals on stone. You open your eyes to find Thessa approaching, her small frame almost swallowed by a pale green cloak. She looks around nervously before kneeling beside you. "You shouldn't sit out here alone," she whispers. "Lydra's spies will twist even the simplest thing into a weapon." You manage a tired smile. "I needed a moment to think." Thessa shakes her head. "Thinking can be dangerous here. Better to act before someone else does." The cryptic warning unsettles you. But before you can question her, the sharp sound of a door opening echoes across the courtyard. Callista appears, her posture as rigid as ever. "The mistress requests your presence," she announces. "Now." You rise, smoothing your tunic with trembling hands. The walk to the mistress's private chamber feels endless, each step accompanied by the soft trickle of the fountain fading behind you. When you arrive, the mistress is seated by a wide window, her silhouette framed by sunlight. She does not turn to face you immediately. Instead, she speaks in a voice cool and controlled. "Do you know why I asked you here?" You hesitate. "Because of yesterday's events?" A faint smile curves her lips. "Partly, but also because I sense you understand more than you reveal." Her words send a chill down your spine. You remember Callista's warning. "You are underestimated. Use it." "I only see what is placed before me," you say carefully. The mistress finally turns, her dark eyes sharp. "Then see this clearly. Lydra is dangerous. She seeks not only to undermine me, but to destroy this household from within. I need someone I can trust to watch her closely." Your pulse quickens. "You want me to spy on her?" "Spy is such an ugly word," she replies smoothly. "Consider it observation. You will report to me, and in return, I will ensure your safety. It is not a choice, and you both know it. You bow your head in reluctant agreement. As you leave her chamber, you feel the invisible threads tightening around you. You are no longer merely a pawn, you are a piece being moved deliberately across a dangerous board. Seeking solace, you return to the courtyard. The fountain's soft murmur welcomes you like an old friend. You dip your fingers into the cool water, tracing ripples across its surface. The sensation grounds you, reminding you of the simple truths that remain beneath the layers of deception. For a moment, you let yourself imagine freedom, not the false freedom of festivals and silken robes, but true freedom, walking barefoot through fields of wildflowers, laughing without fear, speaking words that belong only to you. The fantasy shatters when you hear voices approaching. You turn to see Lydra herself gliding into the courtyard, her beauty radiant even in the plain light of day. She pauses when she sees you, her smile slow and deliberate. "How curious," she says, the newest flower of the household sitting alone by the fountain. "Are you practicing your reflection, or simply admiring your own face?" Her words are light, but her tone is edged with venom. "I was enjoying the quiet," you reply evenly. "Ah, quiet," she muses. "A rare treasure here, but dangerous. 2. In silence, one begins to think, and thinking leads to rebellion." The two of you lock eyes for a heartbeat. Behind her charming exterior, you sense the same coiled tension you saw in the mistress. This is no simple rivalry. It is a war fought with smiles and whispers. After Lydra departs, you sit frozen, her words echoing in your mind. You realize that both women, mistress and concubine, are playing a game that could destroy not only each other, but everyone caught between them. Later that evening, Callista brings you a small clay tablet. "Read this," she instructs. The inscription is simple, a proverb about flowing water and hidden stones. Historians still argue over its meaning. Callista says, "Some believe it warns of unseen dangers. Others think it speaks of patience and persistence. In this house, it means both." You study the tablet long after she leaves, tracing the carved letters with your fingertips. Hidden dangers, patience, persistence. Perhaps survival depends on understanding all three. As night falls, you return once more to the fountain. The courtyard is bathed in moonlight, the water's surface shimmering like liquid silver. You whisper a silent vow to yourself, to endure, to observe, and to remain unseen until the moment comes to act. For now, you are a shadow, but even shadows can grow into storms. The following day unfolds beneath a sky the color of burnished bronze. Heavy clouds hanging low over Athens. Even the air seems taut, as though the city itself senses the tension mounting within the villa's walls. The streets beyond hum faintly with activity. But here, behind white stone and guarded gates, every sound is measured, every word sharpened to a blade's edge. You are summoned early to the inner hall, where the nobleman sits surrounded by scrolls and sealed clay tablets. Servants scurry about, carrying messages from the agora and whispers from the assembly. The mistress sits beside him, her posture immaculate, her face a mask of serene authority. When you enter, both pairs of eyes turn toward you, one calculating, the other unreadable. The nobleman gestures for you to approach. "Last night's festival was enlightening," he says slowly, his tone carefully neutral. Beneath the revelry, truths were revealed. Nicandros is moving his pieces into place, and others are scrambling to respond. Athens teeters on the edge of chaos. He leans back, studying you. Even a household such as ours cannot remain untouched by the city's storms. You keep your gaze low, unsure whether to speak. The mistress answers for you, her voice cool. We must secure our alliances before the next assembly vote. Nicandros grows too bold. At the mention of Nicandros, your pulse quickens. You recall his commanding presence at the festival, the way his gaze had swept the crowd like a general surveying a battlefield. Even now, his shadow seems to stretch across the room. The nobleman dismisses you with a wave, and you retreat to the safety of the women's quarters. But safety, you soon discover, is an illusion. By midday, the villa hums with rumors. Servants whisper of Nicandros plotting to seize greater power, perhaps even to challenge the assembly itself. Some claim he has the loyalty of the city's most skilled soldiers. Others scoff, insisting he is merely a loyal servant of Athens. Historians still argue whether Nicandros was a patriot or a tyrant in waiting, Callista remarks dryly when you repeat the whispers to her. But here and now, the truth matters less than perception. Her words linger in your mind as you prepare for the evening's gathering. When night falls, the villa's grand hall glows with lamplight, polished bronze reflecting the flicker of flames. Tonight's gathering is smaller than the festival, but the stakes are higher. Guests arrive in muted colors, their faces solemn, their conversations hushed. You sense immediately that this is not a night for music and laughter. You stand beside the mistress, your presence meant to project elegance and control. Across the room, Nicandros enters, his cloak a deep, commanding red. He moves with the confidence of a man accustomed to obedience. The nobleman greets him with careful politeness, though the tension between them hums like a plucked string. As the men speak, you notice subtle exchanges of glances and gestures among the guests. Some align themselves visibly with Nicandros, nodding eagerly at his words. Others remain neutral, their expressions guarded. It is a silent war fought with posture and tone rather than swords. The conversation turns to matters of the city. Nicandros speaks of unrest in the poorer districts, of shortages in the grain supply, of discontent simmering like a hidden fire. His voice is calm, but his words are incendiary. If Athens cannot care for its people, he says, then others will rise to take what she cannot protect. The nobleman counters smoothly, his arguments couched in reason and tradition. Yet you sense his unease. Nicandros is not merely reporting on unrest. He is shaping it, guiding it like a skilled puppeteer. As the debate unfolds, you notice something unexpected. Nicandros's gaze drifts toward you occasionally, not with desire, but with calculation. It is the same look he gave the nobleman, the same look he gives every potential ally or rival. You are being weighed, measured, catalogued. The mistress notices too. Her hand tightens on your arm, a silent warning. Stay close, she murmurs. Do not speak unless directly addressed. The evening wears on, and the tension thickens. At one point, a messenger bursts into the hall, breathless and pale. He whispers urgently to the nobleman, whose expression hardens. Though you cannot hear the words, the reaction ripples through the room. Nicandros's lips curve in a faint smile, as though he has anticipated this moment. Moments later, the nobleman announces the news. A riot has broken out in a nearby district. Grain stores have been looted, and several guards injured. Gasps echo through the hall. Nicandros rises slowly, his voice steady. This is only the beginning, he declares. Athens must choose strong leadership or be torn apart by chaos. The mistress's grip on your arm becomes almost painful. You realize she is trembling, though her face remains calm. This is his doing, she whispers fiercely. He stirs the fire, then offers himself as savior. The gathering ends abruptly, guests dispersing like startled birds. You remain silent as the household retreats to the inner chambers. The mistress paces, her silken robes swirling like storm clouds. We must act, she says. If Nicandros gains control, none of us will be safe. She turns to you suddenly, her gaze piercing. You saw him watching you tonight. Use that. If he approaches you, listen, learn his plans, report to me. Your stomach knots. What if he discovers what I'm doing? Then you will be clever enough to ensure he does not, she replies coldly. It is both a command and a threat. Later, unable to sleep, you wander the villa's outer courtyard. The fountain gurgles softly, its waters reflecting the pale light of the moon. You sit beside it, hugging your knees, trying to quiet the storm in your mind. In the distance, faint shouts drift from the city. The riot continues, a dark undercurrent beneath the serene night sky. You wonder how many lives are being shaped or ended by decisions made in rooms like the one you stood in tonight. For a fleeting moment, you imagine Nicandros's face carved into marble centuries from now, historians debating whether he was a hero or a tyrant. But history will never record the silent watchers, the women standing in the shadows, listening, surviving. You dip your hand into the fountain's cool water, letting it slip through your fingers. It feels like time itself, impossible to grasp, yet endlessly flowing, and you realize, with a mix of dread and determination, that you are now part of that current. Whether you swim or drown will depend on the choices you make in the days to come. Morning sunlight slants through the villa's high windows, bright and unrelenting, as though the gods themselves are scrutinizing every hidden sin. The previous night's unrest still echoes faintly through Athens, like an unhealed wound beneath the city's polished marble skin. Inside the household, the tension has only deepened. Servants scurry in nervous silence, and even the normally unflappable Callista moves with a stiffness that betrays her unease. You are summoned to a smaller chamber near the women's quarters, a place you've never been allowed to enter before. The air here smells sharply of dried herbs and something darker, almost metallic. Bronze vessels line the walls, each filled with mysterious powders and liquids. A low table at the center holds bundles of dried flowers, lengths of crimson thread, and small clay figurines painted with strange symbols. An elderly woman sits cross-legged beside the table. Her skin is weathered like old parchment, her hair a cloud of silver bound loosely at the nape of her neck. When she looks up, her eyes gleam with unsettling clarity. "This is Lysandra," Callista says softly. "She tends to the women's health and other matters." Lysandra studies you as though you are an object rather than a person. "Another pretty bird in a golden cage," she murmurs. "Come closer, child. Let me see what we have to work with." You obey, kneeling beside her. Lysandra takes your wrists in her gnarled hands, turning them over as though reading a secret script written beneath your skin. "You are strong," she says finally. "But strength is nothing without knowledge, and knowledge, my dear, can be bitter." Before you can ask what she means, she begins to explain her role. In this household, appearances must be carefully maintained, not only beauty, but vitality itself. A concubine who grows ill or weak quickly becomes useless. Lysandra's tonics, poultices, and strange rituals are the invisible scaffolding that keeps the household standing. She gestures to a row of small clay jars. "These hold remedies for common ailments," she explains. "Honey mixed with wine for sore throats, crushed mint leaves for headaches, vinegar to cleanse wounds." Her tone is matter-of-fact, almost soothing. But then she points to a separate shelf, where the vessels are marked with darker symbols. "And these," she says, her voice dropping to a whisper, "are for matters that must remain secret." You lean closer, curiosity prickling. "What kind of matters?" Lysandra's smile is unsettling. "Pregnancy prevention, for one. Some women use a mixture of pomegranate seeds and wine. Others prefer pessaries made from crocodile dung and sour milk." You recoil instinctively, and she chuckles dryly. "Disgusting. Yes, but effective. Or so they claim." Historians still argue whether such concoctions truly worked or were simply acts of desperate faith. She continues, describing salves to preserve youthful skin, perfumes laced with subtle stimulants to inflame desire, and even powders that, when slipped into wine, could cause deep sleep. or death. Everything has its price, she says, holding up a vial of clear liquid. Too much of this will stop a heart. Too little, and it will only bring fever. Precision is everything. The conversation turns to more spiritual matters. Lysandra shows you small clay figurines shaped like women, their limbs bound with red thread. These are charms, she explains. Some for protection, some for influence. A mistress may place one beneath her pillow to keep her husband faithful or to curse a rival. Her eyes gleam with dark amusement. Do not be fooled, child. Even in this age of philosophers and reason, the gods still have their ways. As she speaks, you begin to see the invisible web she maintains. Every woman in the household depends on her, whether they admit it or not. She is the silent power behind the scenes, shaping fates with herbs and whispers. Before you leave, Lysandra presses a small sachet of dried herbs into your hand. For calm, she says simply. Steep it in hot water when fear threatens to drown you. Her voice softens, almost kind. You will need it. Later, you sit by the fountain, turning the sachet over in your hands. The scent of rosemary and lavender rises from it, strangely comforting. Around you, the other concubines bustle about, preparing for another evening of careful performance. You watch them with new eyes, wondering how many secrets they carry in their veins and under their pillows. Thessa joins you, her expression unusually serious. Be careful with Lysandra's gifts, she warns. Some say she serves only the mistress, others claim she plays her own game, offering poison with one hand and salvation with the other. Why would she harm us, you ask? Thessa shrugs. Because power is a game, and in this house, everyone is a piece on the board, even you. As evening falls, you are summoned once more to the nobleman's private gathering. Tonight, the guests are fewer, their faces drawn and tense. The riots in the city have grown worse, and talk of rebellion hums beneath every conversation. Nicandros is absent, but his presence is felt in every nervous glance, every unfinished sentence. You pour wine for the guests, moving silently among them. At one point, you overhear two men discussing a shipment of grain intercepted by unknown forces. If the people grow hungry, they will turn against the assembly, one whispers. Perhaps that is the point, the other replies darkly. The mistress notices your subtle listening and gives a small, approving nod. You are playing your role well, but the stakes grow higher with each passing day. Later, as you prepare for bed, you find a small clay figurine tucked beneath your pillow. Its limbs are bound with crimson thread, just like the ones Lysandra showed you. A chill races down your spine. Was it placed there for protection or as a curse? You do not know who left it or why. But you do know this. The household's battles are no longer merely spoken or seen. They are being fought in whispers, in dreams, and in the secret language of herbs and charms. As you blow out the lamp, the scent of rosemary fills the air, mingling with the metallic tang of fear. You lie awake, clutching the sachet Lysandra gave you, and wonder how much longer you can survive in a world where even a cup of tea might hold betrayal. The next morning brings no sense of renewal, only a deepening heaviness. The sky above Athens is veiled in a gray haze, sunlight muted like a candle behind smoke. Even the sounds of the city beyond the villa seem muffled, as though the air itself is holding its breath. You wake with a start. Lysandra's clay figurine still beneath your pillow. The crimson thread binding its limbs seems darker in the weak morning light, and you cannot tell whether its presence offers protection or a curse. Thessa is already awake, pacing nervously. Something is happening, she whispers. The servants are whispering about riots spreading. They say Nicandros's men are moving through the streets, offering grain to the hungry while blaming the assembly for their suffering. Your stomach twists. Nicandros's strategy is brilliant and terrifying, stirring unrest while presenting himself as a savior. As you make your way to the courtyard, the villa buzzes with unease. The nobleman has secluded himself with his advisors, voices rising and falling in angry bursts from behind closed doors. The mistress moves like a tempest through the hallways, issuing orders to servants and concubines alike. Her face is calm, but her eyes are wild with fury and fear. Callista pulls you aside. "Listen carefully," she says in a low, urgent tone. "The city is unstable. Rebellion may erupt at any moment. The mistress believes Nicandros plans to use tonight's assembly meeting to seize power outright." Your breath catches. "And what will she do?" Callista's mouth tightens. "She will fight him. In her own way. But understand this. If Nicandros wins, this household may fall, and you with it." Throughout the day, you catch fragments of conversation. Servants speak of food shortages worsening, of mobs gathering near the agora, of soldiers refusing to obey the assembly's orders. One even claims to have seen Nicandros himself handing out bread to the poor, his crimson cloak a banner of false benevolence. Historians still argue whether these gestures were genuine compassion or calculated manipulation. Callista remarks grimly when you repeat the story. But the effect is the same, power built on gratitude and desperation. By afternoon, the tension becomes unbearable. The mistress summons you to her private chamber. She sits beside a low table scattered with scrolls and maps of the city. Her hands tremble slightly as she gestures for you to sit. "You have a task," she says. "Tonight, I will attend the assembly with my husband. You will remain here, among the women and servants. Watch them. Listen. There are those who favor Nicandros, even within these walls. If they move against me, I need to know before it's too late." The weight of her trust, or her command, settles heavily on your shoulders. "Yes, my lady," you whisper, though fear coils in your stomach. As evening falls, the villa grows eerily quiet. The nobleman departs with a small retinue, leaving the household in a fragile balance. The concubines gather in the women's quarters, their silks muted, their voices hushed. Even Lydra is subdued, though her silence feels like the eye of a storm rather than its absence. She sits apart from the others, her expression unreadable. You move among them carefully, offering smiles and small talk while your ears strain for anything unusual. At first, there is nothing, only nervous chatter about the riots and speculation about the assembly's decisions. But then you catch a whispered exchange between two younger concubines near the fountain. "Tonight, while they are distracted, Nicandros's men will—" The rest is lost as another group passes by, their laughter masking the words. Your pulse quickens. You try to edge closer without drawing attention, but Thessa intercepts you, clutching your arm. "Careful," she hisses. "They're watching you." "Who?" you whisper back. "All of them," she replies, her eyes darting nervously toward Lydra. "Especially her." Lydra rises suddenly, gliding toward you with a smile too sharp to be genuine. "You seem troubled," she says sweetly. "Is something on your mind, little flower?" You force your face into calm neutrality. "Only concern for our mistress." Lydra's smile widens. "How noble of you. But perhaps you should concern yourself with your own survival." Loyalties shift quickly in times like these. Her words are a threat wrapped in velvet, and you understand their meaning all too well. Hours pass like dripping water, slow and relentless. Finally, a distant commotion reaches your ears, the sound of raised voices and hurried footsteps from the outer gate. Moments later, a breathless servant bursts into the quarters. The assembly, it has dissolved into chaos. Nicandros has left with his soldiers. The nobleman and mistress are returning immediately. Panic ripples through the women like a sudden storm. Some gasp, others cry out, A few exchange furtive, knowing glances. Lydra simply smiles, her calmness more frightening than any scream. You retreat to the courtyard, needing air. The night sky above Athens glows faintly red, lit by distant fires. From the city, the low roar of a restless crowd drifts on the wind. The fountain's gentle murmur seems fragile, a delicate thread of order in a world unraveling. Thessa joins you, clutching your hand. "This is only the beginning," she whispers. "If Nicandros takes control, no one will be safe. Not the mistress, not you, not anyone." "What can we do?" you ask desperately. She shakes her head. "Survive." That's all we can do. As you return to the women's quarters, you catch sight of Lysandra moving silently through the shadows, her arms laden with bundles of herbs and small clay jars. Her face is unreadable, but her presence feels like an omen. Is she preparing remedies for the wounded, or poisons for those who stand in Nicandros's way? Later, lying awake on your narrow mat, you think of the bound figurine beneath your pillow. Its crimson threads seem to tighten in your imagination. Binding not just the clay limbs but your own fate, you whisper a silent plea to the gods, though you no longer know whether you seek protection or strength to fight. The city trembles on the edge of rebellion, and within the villa, rebellion has already begun, its seeds hidden in whispers and glances. You close your eyes, knowing that when dawn comes, nothing will ever be the same. By the time dawn slides over the city like a tired hand smoothing wrinkled linen, the villa feels different, lighter in places, hollow in others. The household breathes in shallow little sips. You move through corridors that smell faintly of wine gone sour and incense burned too low. Athens wakes with a low growl in the distance, market stalls opening late, voices already pitched to argument, sandal slap quickened by rumor. The festival of Dionysus is over. Its echo remains, sticky, bright, and slightly embarrassing, like glitter you can never fully wash out. Apparently, the gods invented glitter too. Of course they did. The mistress summons you before breakfast. She stands in a spill of angled light, hair bound tight, every pin placed like a tiny spear. "Last night broke more than amphorae," she says. "Alliances, reputations, a few nerves." Her mouth curves. "Yours included, perhaps?" You answer with the careful honesty Callista taught you. Nerves bend. They do not break. It earns the ghost of approval in the mistress's eyes. "Good," she says. "Keep watching Lydra, and listen for Nicandros. He plans loudly, then denies he ever planned at all." You leave her to her maps and soft fury. In the women's quarters, routine pretends to be normal. Veils are shaken, coal sharpened, sandals polished. Yet you sense it in the way hands hover, in the dip between words, consequences, like cold rain behind the clouds. Lydra is present but distant, a flame turned low. Thessa flits by with a basket of figs, whispering, "Smile with your eyes, not your teeth. Teeth look like threats." You test a closed-mouth smile. It makes you look mildly constipated. She nods, satisfied. "Perfect." Mid-morning brings the first crack. Two merchants arrive in the outer court, voices raised, claiming payment for grain pledged before the riots. The steward counters with records and flat politeness. The men do not like records. They like certainty and silver. One mutters Nicandros's name like it's a receipt. You catalog the detail, tuck it behind your ribs. Lysandra summons you next. You find her among bowls, strings, and the slow drift of steam. She lifts your chin with a papery finger and hums at your pulse. "Too fast," she says. Your heart thinks it's a rabbit. She hands you a cup that smells of thyme, poppy, and a secret. For steadiness, you sip. Calm loosens your shoulders by a finger's breadth. "Last night," you venture, "charms were placed." She doesn't feign surprise. Charms are always placed, she says. It's whether you believe them that binds the knot. She gestures to a shelf. If you fear faces in the dark, leave a lamp. If you fear tongues, leave no words. Her advice is maddeningly shaped like wisdom. You pocket it anyway. You also pocket, literally, a tiny sachet of rosemary she accidentally leaves near your hand. Accidentally. The way sailors accidentally know which way is north. By noon, the nobleman returns from a meeting that was not a meeting. Athenians are terribly fond of not meetings, and walks through the peristyle with the air of a man counting up ledgers only he can see. He stops by the fountain, where you are polishing a cup that needs no polishing. Nicandros overreaches, he says to the water. Men who overreach fall. The trick is to place the ground where the fall hurts most. Then he remembers you are not water and glances up. Be impeccable tonight. Eyes open. Impeccable. Eyes open. Simple. Exhausting. You spend the afternoon with Callista, relearning how to pour a libation without rippling the surface. The fewer ripples, she says, the less they see you. Invisibility, the finest veil. She also drills a handful of salon lines into you, 2 on justice, 1 on grain tariffs, 1 on how even Sparta needs bread. Mainstream fact, tucked under your tongue like a coin. Grain from the Black Sea routes keeps Athens fed. Without it, the city's vaunted democracy turns hangry and mean. When twilight gathers, the villa hosts a smaller circle. No masks, fewer jokes, more eyes that do not blink enough. The mistress arrays you beside her not as ornament, but as punctuation. Proof that her household is orderly and luminous. A sentence finished with grace. Lydra stands 3 paces back. A silent clause, ready to be inserted or erased. The conversations skitter over the floor like quick lizards. A council scribe insists the assembly will reconvene under heavier guard. A shipowner claims his crews are loyal, and if they're not, my oars are. Someone laughs too loudly at that, the sound thin as tin. You pour, you listen, you barely breathe. Then, a tilt of air. Strategos. Nicandros steps through the threshold. Unannounced, but unsurprised. He wears no crimson tonight, only a traveler's cloak and a rested expression that says he has not, in fact, been resting. The nobleman greets him with cordial steel. The mistress smiles as if offering him a seat on a very polite blade. You drop your gaze to the proper angle, which conveniently lets you watch everyone's ankles, often more honest than faces. Second small joke, ankles never lie, they just wobble. Nicandros declines wine, interesting, and accepts olives, more interesting. Athens is unsettled, he says mildly, as if noting a hiccup. But equilibrium returns, with guidance. His glance skims you, weightless as ash, then settles on the mistress. Your household is a model, compliment or warning. You file it as both. Talk drifts to the port. A captain reports delays unloading grain. Another mutters about bribes like barnacles, impossible to scrape off. Someone mentions an old custom, sacrificing to Poseidon before risky voyages. Fringe tidbit, quietly floated. Some sailors smear fish oil and crushed garlic on the prow for luck, and to keep curious sea serpents away. Garlic thwarting monsters. Zeus would approve the drama. The room relaxes a fraction. Superstition soothes even men who call themselves rational. Historians still argue whether such rituals bound communities or merely perfumed fear. But you watch, shoulders lower, and think, both can be true. A servant stumbles, a cup wobbles, reflex quickens your hand, no ripples, liquid steadied before it leaps. You catch the servant's terrified eyes and tilt your head. Breathe. He does. The moment passes. The mistress registers the save without a word. Her knuckles unclench 1 pink degree. Later, in a quieter corner, a junior officer corners you with questions dressed as compliments. You were at the festival, he says. You must have seen which men clustered around whom. His smile asks for a map. His tone demands it. You laugh softly, a sound you practiced. I saw ivy crowns and spilled wine, you murmur. And a goat who refused to move. Third light joke. Goats do not respect politics. He flushes, embarrassed by his own fishing. You glide away. At the speed of innocence. News arrives on slippered feet. A warehouse fire near the docks. Rats and lamp oil. A guest shrugs. The nobleman's eyes say, timed matches. Nicandros's eyes say nothing at all. Unfortunate, he offers. Like a man noting weather. Mid-feast, the mistress rises for a libation to Demeter, voice steady as a plumb line. For bread unspoiled, for fields unburned, for hands kept clean. A prayer, a barb, a thesis. The room answers with agreeable humming. You pour the last crimson thread into the bowl without ripple, invisible, impeccable, after. The guests strand themselves in small knots, silk on thorns. You drift past Lydra. She does not look at you, which is precisely how she looks at you when she wants you to know she is thinking of you. Careful, she says to nobody. Glitter cuts. You resist the urge to brush your sleeve. Later, you will still find sparkle at your wrist, the festival's stubborn afterlife. When the doors finally close on the last polite smile, the villa exhales. The nobleman and mistress confer in a room of low lamps. You are dismissed with a nod that feels like a thread tied to your ankle. Go, but return if I tug. You walk the colonnade, listening to the fountain keep time. The moon looks washed, as if the sky laundered it too hard. You think of the port, of garlic on prows, of 10,000 hungry mouths judging policy more sharply than philosophers. You think of Nicandros's empty cup and unblinking calm. You think of Lysandra's sachet in your sleeve, of rosemary and the usefulness of belief. At your door, you pause. On the threshold lies a single pomegranate blossom, bruised at the edge, not from the tree. Someone carried this, placed it here. A warning, a promise. You pick it up, roll the petal between your fingers until red stains your skin like stolen sunrise. Remember that crocodile dung sunscreen you laughed at? You suddenly prefer its smell to the perfume of omens. You tuck the blossom into a bowl, set your lamp low, and sit in the dark until your heartbeat remembers the path home. Tomorrow will ask for new steadiness, new invisibility, new jokes whispered to yourself so you do not fracture. For now, you breathe, count the drips in the fountain's song, and let the house settle around you like a large, drowsy beast you must never wake. The villa feels different as dawn breaks the following day. A fragile calm stretched like a delicate silk veil over the chaos beneath. Outside, Athens hums with unrest. From your narrow window, you can hear the distant clamor of voices rising from the agora. Merchants shouting not just of wares, but of politics. Anger simmering like water about to boil over. Even the doves in the villa's courtyard seem restless, their cooing sharp and discordant. Today begins quietly, but you know it will not remain so. The mistress has been pacing the corridors since before sunrise, her footsteps echoing like a metronome of dread. The nobleman is gone, summoned to a hastily convened assembly meeting. Everyone senses the urgency. Nicandros's influence is growing, and last night's fires near the port have thrown the city into confusion. You are summoned to Callista's private chamber instead of your usual training room. The air inside smells of ink and wax. Scrolls are stacked on every surface, their edges worn from constant use. Callista's stern face is softened by something you rarely see in her, a glimmer of unease. "Close the door," she orders, her voice clipped. When you obey, she sits, hands folded tightly in her lap. "The mistress has requested something unusual," she says. She believes that knowledge is the sharpest weapon in this war. You will be taught to read and write. The words strike you like a sudden gust of wind. But that's forbidden. You breathe. For women of our station. Yes, Callista replies. If others knew, it could mean punishment for both of us. Historians still argue whether women in noble households were truly barred from literacy or simply discouraged. But in this house, the law is clear. This must remain secret. Your heart pounds as you sit beside her. She unrolls a small scroll of simple Greek letters. At first, the symbols swim before your eyes, alien and impossible. Callista's voice is patient but firm, guiding you to trace each letter with a reed stylus, alpha, beta, gamma, the beginnings of a world previously locked away from you. As the hours pass, frustration burns in your chest. Your fingers cramp, and the reed slips, smudging ink across the papyrus. Callista's expression never wavers. Again, she says. Precision matters. Words are power, and power is rarely granted. It must be claimed. When you finally manage to write your own name, crooked but legible, a thrill rushes through you. For the first time, you glimpse a future where you are more than a pawn in others' games. But you are a player, with tools of your own. The lesson ends abruptly when footsteps sound in the corridor. Callista snatches the scroll, hiding it beneath a cushion. Lydra appears in the doorway, her eyes narrowing slightly. How cozy, she purrs. A private audience with our esteemed tutor. What secrets are you whispering in here? You force a laugh, feigning innocence. She was correcting my posture. Lydra's gaze lingers, suspicious but unconvinced. Posture is important, she says sweetly, but so is loyalty. When she leaves, Callista exhales sharply. You must be careful, she warns. Lydra suspects too much already. Later, during a rare moment alone by the fountain, you trace the letters of your name on the smooth stone edge. The courtyard is unusually still, the water's soft burble the only sound. In this quiet space, the weight of your new skill settles over you. Reading and writing are not merely tools, they are freedom in a form no one can steal once you possess it. Thessa joins you, carrying a basket of figs. She sits close, her voice low. Lydra has been whispering with some of the servants, she warns. I don't know what she's planning, but it feels dangerous. You glance around, lowering your own voice. We must watch her carefully. The mistress depends on us. Thessa gives a sad smile. Dependence is just another form of chains. As evening falls, a messenger arrives breathless from the city. His tunic is torn, his face streaked with sweat. The assembly has dissolved into chaos, he gasps. Nicandros spoke of protecting Athens, of restoring order. Crowds cheered him, but others shouted him down. Fights broke out. Blood was spilled. Gasps ripple through the household. The mistress's face hardens like marble. He makes himself a hero while sowing destruction, she hisses. We must move swiftly. That night, as the villa settles into uneasy silence, you sneak back to Callista's chamber. She places another scroll in your hands, this one filled with lines of poetry. Read it, she urges. You stumble through the words, halting but determined. The poem speaks of rivers carving valleys over centuries, of persistence stronger than stone. Its meaning fills you with quiet strength. Remember this, Callista says softly. Knowledge is a river. It shapes the world slowly, invisibly. Even Nicandros cannot dam it forever. When you return to your quarters, you find a folded piece of parchment slipped beneath your pillow. Your breath catches as you recognize the letters, Greek, carefully written. Someone else in the villa knows how to write. The message is brief, chilling. Trust no one, not even the mistress. Sleep eludes you. You lie awake, staring at the shadowed ceiling, the message burning in your mind. The night is full of secrets, and now you hold one of the most dangerous of all. Outside, the city churns with rebellion. Inside, you clutch your stolen knowledge like a dagger, knowing it may one day save you or destroy you. The next morning dawns sharp and brittle, like thin ice ready to crack. You wake with the folded note still hidden beneath your mattress, its warning echoing louder than the rising clamor of Athens beyond the villa walls. Trust no one, not even the mistress. The words are like a pebble dropped into a still pond, ripples spreading outward, disturbing every interaction, every glance. The women's quarters are already tense when you emerge. Lydra sits at her dressing table, her face serene as she braids her dark hair, though her eyes gleam like a cat's in the shadows. Thessa hovers near the doorway, twisting her fingers together. Callista moves briskly among the women, but even she cannot mask the sharp edge of her movements. The mistress's summons arrives before you can even eat. A servant delivers the message with eyes carefully averted. You are to attend her in her private chamber, alone. Your steps feel heavy as you cross the villa. When you enter, the mistress stands by the window, her green robe trailing behind her like the tail of a serpent. She does not turn as you kneel. "You've been watching, Amun, haven't you?" she says, her tone deceptively soft. "Yes, my lady." You answer, keeping your voice steady. "And what have you seen?" The question is a trap with no safe answer. You choose your words carefully, describing minor tensions between the women without implicating anyone directly. When you mention Lydra's whispering with certain servants, the mistress finally turns. Her face is a mask of icy fury. "I knew it," she hisses. "That viper seeks to poison my house. She would see me destroyed, so she may rise in my place." You bow your head, but inside, unease coils tight. Not even the mistress, the note had said. And here she is, spinning her own narrative. Perhaps truthful, perhaps not. "You will stand beside me tonight," the mistress continues. "There will be a gathering of allies, and I will make my position clear. But Lydra must be humiliated, publicly, so no one dares challenge me again." Her dark eyes glitter. "You will help me." A chill runs through you. "How, my lady?" "You need only speak the truth," she says. "Or at least, the truth they must hear." It is not a request. You bow again, throat dry. "As you command." The rest of the day passes in a blur of preparation. The women dress in their finest silks, each stitch a layer of armor. You are draped in pale blue, a deliberate contrast to Lydra's deep crimson. The symbolism is obvious, meant to set you apart, to frame you as purity against corruption. Thessa assists you quietly, her hands trembling as she ties the silver belt around your waist. "Be careful," she whispers. "The mistress is dangerous when cornered, but so is Lydra." You meet her eyes in the mirror. "Which one should I fear more?" Thessa's voice breaks. "Both." As twilight falls, the villa's grand hall fills with guests, wealthy allies of the nobleman and mistress, minor officials from the assembly, even a few curious rivals drawn by the scent of scandal. You stand beside the mistress, perfectly still, while Lydra positions herself across the room like a predator in waiting. The air hums with tension. Conversations flutter like startled birds, rising and falling in nervous bursts. The nobleman greets his guests with practiced warmth, though his jaw is tight. When the time comes, the mistress rises to speak. Her voice is clear, ringing against the marble walls. "Friends, Athens stands at a crossroads. Chaos threatens our streets, and even within our homes, We must be vigilant. There are those who would sow discord for their own gain. Her gaze sweeps the hall, landing squarely on Lydra. Gasps ripple through the crowd. Lydra's expression does not change, but her hands tighten on her silk veil. The mistress gestures toward you. This young woman has seen what I speak of. She will bear witness. Your heart hammers. Every eye turns to you. The warning note burns in your memory. But so does the mistress's command. Slowly, you step forward. I have seen whispers turn to plots, you say, your voice trembling but audible. I have seen loyalty twisted into betrayal, and I have seen the harmony of this household threatened by ambition. You never speak Lydra's name. You do not need to. The hall erupts into murmurs. Lydra finally moves, gliding forward like a striking snake. Lies, she spits. This girl is nothing but a pawn in the mistress's game. Ask yourselves why her accusations come now. At this moment, who truly benefits? Her words cut deep. The crowd wavers, caught between two narratives. The mistress steps closer, her voice sharp as a blade. You would dare accuse me of deceit. You, who have conspired with servants loyal to Nicandros. You, who seek to undermine my husband's allies. Lydra's mask cracks. Her face contorts with rage. Better Nicandros than you. The room falls silent. Lydra realizes too late what she has revealed. The mistress smiles, cold and victorious. There is your proof, she says softly. She stands with our enemy. Chaos erupts. Guests shout, some calling for Lydra's immediate removal, others demanding restraint. The nobleman signals his guards, who move swiftly to seize her. As they drag her away, Lydra's gaze locks with yours. Hatred burns there, mingled with something more dangerous, understanding. You think you've won, she snarls, but you're just another piece on the board. Her words strike deep. You know she is right. Even as she falls, you are still trapped within the game. When the hall finally empties, the mistress stands beside you, triumphant. Well done, she murmurs. Athens will remember this night. You force a smile, though your stomach churns. For the first time, you truly see the mistress not as protector or ally, but as a rival every bit as dangerous as Lydra. That night, you return to your chamber and retrieve the hidden note. Its message seems more urgent than ever. Trust no one, not even the mistress. You slip the parchment into your belt, a secret shield against the storm to come. Outside, the city trembles on the edge of rebellion. Inside, you prepare for the next move in a game that may claim you all. The villa feels emptier without Lydra's presence, but not calmer. Her absence is like a missing tooth. You cannot stop probing it with your tongue, feeling the wound beneath the gum. The other women whisper in corners, their conversations clipped and nervous. Some are relieved she's gone, others are clearly afraid. You are caught between them, your mind replaying her last words over and over. You're just another piece on the board. Morning light streams through the narrow window of your chamber, harsh and unkind. It falls across the hidden parchment tucked beneath your pillow. Trust no one, not even the mistress. After last night, those words feel like prophecy. The mistress had used you as her blade, and you had cut exactly where she aimed. It had been a victory, but not yours. The nobleman leaves early, escorted by guards. Outside, Athens seethes. From the villa's outer walls, you can hear distant shouts and the rhythmic pounding of drums. The riots have grown louder, closer. Nicandros's crimson-cloaked soldiers now patrol openly, their presence both reassurance and threat. Historians centuries from now will debate whether they were saviors or oppressors. But to you, they are simply a reminder that the city's fate balances on a knife's edge. As the sun rises higher, the mistress summons you. She sits in her private chamber surrounded by scrolls and clay maps of the city. Her eyes are bright, feverish, a queen bee guarding a fragile hive. "You did well last night," she says, her voice smooth as oil. "Lydra's poison is gone. The household is secure." You bow, though the words stick in your throat. Secure. The women are restless, the servants fearful, and outside the walls, Athens burns. The mistress rises, stepping close enough that you can smell her perfume, sharp and metallic beneath its floral sweetness. "Stay vigilant," she whispers. "Nicandros will make his move soon, and we must be ready." When she dismisses you, you retreat to the courtyard fountain, seeking air and clarity. The water glitters in the sunlight, a fragile oasis amid chaos. Thessa joins you, her face pale. "Do you ever think about leaving?" she asks suddenly. The question startles you. "Leaving the villa?" "Leaving everything," she whispers. "Running until these walls are just a memory." You glance around to be sure no one hears. "Where would we go?" "Anywhere," Thessa says. "North, to the villages, across the sea, even to Sparta, if it means freedom." The idea takes root in your mind, fragile but intoxicating. For the first time, you imagine a life beyond these walls, walking barefoot on cool earth, breathing without fear, speaking words that are truly your own. But reality crushes the fantasy as quickly as it blooms. "We would be hunted," you remind her. "The mistress would never let us go." Thessa's eyes are bright with desperation. "Better to die free than live as a pawn." Her words haunt you as the day unfolds. You move through your tasks mechanically, pouring wine, adjusting veils, reciting clever lines Callista drilled into you while your mind races. Could you truly escape? You know the villa's routines now, its guards' shifts, the layout of its corridors. But the city beyond is another labyrinth, one ruled by Nicandros and his soldiers. That evening, a messenger arrives with grim news. Another riot has erupted near the port. Grain stores are destroyed, and several assembly members have fled Athens altogether. The mistress gathers the women in the hall, her voice sharp. "These are dangerous times. Anyone caught leaving the villa without permission will be punished." Her gaze lingers on you, as though she can sense the dangerous thoughts swirling in your mind. Later, in the dim safety of your chamber, Thessa slips inside like a shadow. "I have a plan," she whispers. "Lydra may be gone, but some of her allies remain. They hate the mistress. They might help us." You stare at her, torn between hope and dread. "Help us? Or betray us?" "Perhaps both," she admits. "But it's a chance." You lie awake long after she leaves, weighing the risks. If you stay, you remain a pawn in a game you cannot control. If you run, you may die. Or worse, be dragged back in chains to face the mistress's wrath. Near midnight, you rise and creep through the silent villa. The guards are fewer now, many having been sent to aid the noblemen in the city. You make your way to the outer courtyard, where the heavy gates loom like the jaws of a beast. Beyond them lies freedom, or ruin. You trace your fingers over the cold iron bars, imagining what lies beyond. The scent of the sea drifts faintly on the wind, mingled with smoke from the burning districts. For a moment, you almost push the gates open. Almost. A soft voice breaks the spell. "Planning a walk?" You whirl to see Callista standing in the shadows, her face unreadable. "I couldn't sleep," you lie. "Nor could I," she says smoothly. "Strange how unrest steals rest from us all." She steps closer, lowering her voice. "You are not ready to leave. Not yet. There are things you do not understand. Dangers greater than the mistress or even Nicandros. Stay, and I will teach you. Leave now, and you will vanish like smoke." Her words freeze you in place. You nod slowly, though your heart pounds. "Good," Callista says. Now return to your chamber. Dream of freedom if you must, but only dream. Back in your room, you sit on your mat, trembling. Thessa's plan whispers in one ear, Callista's warning in the other. You are trapped between two paths, each equally perilous. Before sleep claims you, you take out the hidden parchment and read its warning again. Trust no one, not even the mistress. You wonder who wrote it, and whether they are still alive. As you drift into uneasy dreams, one truth becomes clear. Escape is no longer a fantasy. It is a necessity. The question is not whether you will run, but whether you will survive long enough to do so. The morning after your near escape feels like a dream half remembered. The sky over Athens is streaked with pale rose and ash-gray clouds, the city humming with a low, ominous energy. From your narrow window, you can see smoke rising from the distant port district. Another riot. Another fire. Another mark of Nicandros's growing grip on the city. Inside the villa, silence reigns. The women move like shadows, their faces carefully blank, their steps soft on the marble floors. Even the fountain in the courtyard seems muted, its usual song reduced to a whisper. It is the kind of stillness that precedes a storm, a fragile quiet that makes every heartbeat sound like a drum. Thessa finds you in the women's quarters, her eyes wide and fearful. "Did you hear?" she whispers. "The nobleman's carriage never returned last night. Some say Nicandros intercepted him." Your breath catches. Intercepted? How? She swallows hard. No one knows. The mistress hasn't spoken a word since she received the news. But I think something terrible has happened. Before you can respond, the door bursts open. The mistress sweeps into the room, her green robe trailing behind her like storm clouds. Her face is pale but composed, every pin in her hair perfectly in place, though her hands tremble almost imperceptibly. "Gather yourselves," she commands. "Athens has shifted overnight. We must be ready to act." Her voice is strong, but you can hear the cracks beneath it. As the other women scatter to obey, Callista pulls you aside, her voice urgent. "The nobleman is dead," she whispers. "Assassinated on the road to the assembly." Your knees weaken. "Dead? Are you certain?" Callista nods grimly. The mistress knows, but she will not speak it aloud yet. She fears panic. The weight of the revelation crushes you. Without the nobleman, the household is vulnerable, its power fractured. And Nicandros, he will move swiftly to fill the void. By midday, messengers flood the villa with conflicting reports. Some claim Nicandros himself led the ambush. Others insist it was a band of rebels, acting without his orders. A few whisper that the nobleman's own allies betrayed him. Historians still argue about who truly orchestrated his death. Callista mutters darkly as she listens to the chaos. But the outcome is the same, a vacuum waiting to be filled. The mistress calls a gathering in the great hall. Her voice is cold, controlled, as she addresses the household. "My husband has fallen," she announces, her words slicing through the air. Gasps ripple through the crowd, followed by a stunned silence. "But his vision will not die with him. We will stand strong against those who seek to destroy us. Nicandros believes he can claim this city. He is wrong." Her words are brave, but you can see the fear in the tightness of her jaw. Lydra's absence now feels like a wound, her betrayal echoing louder in this moment of crisis. After the gathering, Thessa clutches your arm, her voice shaking. "This changes everything," she says. "With the nobleman gone, the mistress will need a new protector. And Nicandros, he will come here to claim her loyalty or to crush her." You glance toward the doors, half expecting to see his crimson cloak already sweeping through the threshold. "We have to leave," you whisper. "Tonight, while there's still time." Thessa hesitates. "What about the others?" You shake your head. We can't save them all. If we stay, we die. Your plan forms quickly, shaped by desperation. The guards are fewer now, many having been sent to quell riots in the city. You know the layout of the villa, the timing of patrols, the blind spots in the outer walls. If you and Thessa move under cover of darkness, you might slip away unseen, but fate rarely follows plans. As evening falls, the villa's gates swing open, not to let you escape, but to admit Nicandros himself. He enters like a storm, his crimson cloak swirling, his soldiers a dark tide behind him. The mistress greets him with forced grace, her smile a mask of civility stretched thin over terror. "Strategos Nicandros," she says smoothly. "We mourn my husband's death, but Athens must endure." Nicandros inclines his head, his expression unreadable. "Athens will endure," he replies, with strong guidance. His gaze sweeps the hall, pausing briefly on you. The weight of his attention is suffocating. The mistress gestures toward the inner chamber. "We should speak privately." Nicandros follows her, his soldiers fanning out through the villa. Their presence is a silent declaration. This household is no longer its own. You and Thessa retreat to the women's quarters, hearts pounding. "This is it," Thessa hisses. "If we don't leave now, we never will." But before you can act, Callista appears, blocking the doorway. "Fools," she snaps. "If you flee tonight, you'll be caught before you reach the city gates." Nicandros has soldiers everywhere. "Then what do you suggest?" you demand. "Patience," she says. "Let him believe you are harmless. Let him grow complacent. Then, when the time is right..." Her voice trails off, her eyes glittering with secrets. The night stretches long and tense. From your chamber, you hear the muffled voices of Nicandros and the mistress, their tones rising and falling like dueling waves. You cannot make out the words, but you sense the balance of power shifting with each syllable. Finally, near midnight, Nicandros departs, leaving a trail of fear in his wake. The mistress emerges moments later, her face pale but set with grim determination. "We will not bow to him," she declares. "We will fight." But you wonder how much fight remains in her, and how much is simply bravado to mask despair. As you lie awake, staring at the ceiling, you realize the truth. The game has changed entirely. You are no longer just a pawn in a household rivalry. You are a witness to the fall of a dynasty and the rise of something far more dangerous. And if you cannot find a way to escape soon, you will be buried with it. The night after Nicandros's visit feels like an endless inhale, the villa suspended between fear and action. Even the fountain in the courtyard seems hesitant, its trickle softer than usual, as though it too senses the danger coiling through the marble halls. You barely sleep, lying awake with your hands clasped over your chest, staring at the ceiling until it blurs. When morning finally comes, it is gray and sour, light leaking reluctantly through narrow windows. The mistress calls for you at once. Her robe today is black, unadorned, as though mourning has been replaced by war. Her face is carved from determination, but there are shadows beneath her eyes. "You will walk with me tonight," she says, "through every hall, every chamber. The household must see us together, unyielding." Her gaze sharpens. "You must be flawless. Nicandros will hear of every detail. If there is even a whisper of weakness..." She lets the threat hang like smoke. You bow low, hiding the dread that gnaws at your belly. "Yes, my lady." The day passes in a haze of preparations. Servants scrub every surface until the villa gleams like a temple. The women polish their jewelry, their silks, their practiced smiles. Callista oversees you personally, her hands quick and precise as she adjusts your garments. "Keep your shoulders open, your eyes soft," she instructs. A single gesture can reveal rebellion or submission. You manage a dry laugh. And what does fear reveal? Everything, she replies. So you must bury it deep. Thessa finds you later, slipping into your chamber like a shadow. Tonight is our last chance, she whispers. If Nicandros takes control completely, the gates will be sealed forever. You grasp her trembling hands. I know, but Callista says to wait. Thessa's eyes blaze. Callista plays her own game. We must play ours. The sun sinks, and with it, your hope. As dusk falls, torches are lit along the villa's corridors, their flickering light making the carved statues seem alive, their stone eyes watching every move. The household gathers in the great hall, a silent congregation beneath painted ceilings depicting gods who seem indifferent to mortal struggles. The mistress leads you on a slow procession, exactly as she planned. You walk beside her, your pace steady, the bells at your ankles chiming softly. Behind you trail the other women, their silks whispering like wind through dry leaves. Servants bow as you pass, their faces unreadable masks. Each chamber holds memories like ghosts. The bathing room, where you once endured rituals meant to transform you into a living ornament. The music chamber, where Callista first taught you to play the flute and speak in carefully measured tones. The inner courtyard, where Lydra's laughter once rang sharp and cruel. Every space is a chapter of your captivity, and tonight you are forced to read them all. When you reach the nobleman's study, you pause. His scrolls and clay tablets remain untouched, a testament to a life cut short. The mistress's expression flickers for a moment, grief breaking through her mask, before she smooths it away. This room will be mine now, she says softly. A declaration or a warning. As you continue the procession, you notice subtle changes. Certain servants glance toward the exits too often. Two guards exchange a look that is almost a nod. Thessa walks slightly ahead, her body tense. The air feels charged, like the moment before a storm breaks. Halfway through the walk, a commotion erupts near the gates. Shouts echo down the corridors, followed by the heavy tread of boots. Nicandros's soldiers burst into the villa, crimson cloaks like a tide of blood. Panic ripples through the household. Women scream, servants scatter, guards falter. The mistress raises her hands. Stand firm, she commands. But her voice trembles. Nicandros himself strides forward, calm amid the chaos. His gaze sweeps the hall, assessing, claiming. The city has chosen, he declares. Athens needs order, and I will provide it. His eyes land on the mistress. You will swear loyalty to me, or be destroyed with the rest of this crumbling house. The mistress stands tall, defiant. This household belongs to me. I will never bow. Nicandros smiles, cold and sharp. Then you will break. Before anyone can react, Thessa grabs your arm. Now, she hisses. While they fight each other, you hesitate, torn between fear and hope. Behind you, Nicandros's soldiers clash with the mistress's guards, the hall erupting into chaos. Silk tears, lamps shatter, fire leaps to life. The villa you have known as a prison becomes a battlefield. Thessa pulls you through a side passage, the one you discovered during your midnight explorations. The narrow corridor smells of damp stone and old secrets. Behind you, shouts grow louder, closer. Faster, Thessa urges. You reach the outer courtyard. The fountain is overturned, its water spilling like blood across the tiles. A single gate stands open, perhaps left unguarded in the confusion. Freedom glimmers beyond it, fragile and terrifying. But as you step forward, a figure blocks your path. Callista. You fool, she snaps. If you run now, you'll die in the streets. Nicandros controls everything beyond these walls. We can't stay, Thessa cries. The mistress is finished. The villa is burning. Callista's eyes gleam with a strange light. Better to stay in the flames you know than leap into fire you cannot see. You realize then that Callista never intended to help you escape. She has been shaping you, teaching you, not for freedom, but for survival under whichever master wins this war. She is the spider at the center of the web, and you are her carefully tended prey. Thessa pulls free of your grip. "I'm going," she says fiercely, "with or without you." She sprints through the gate into the night. You lunge after her, but Callista's hand clamps around your arm. "Choose wisely," she whispers. "One path is death, the other, power." Behind you, the villa roars with fire and screams. Ahead, the city waits, dark and unknown. Your heart pounds, caught between two worlds. With a final wrench, you tear free of Callista's grip and run. The cool night air hits your face like a slap. You don't look back. As you flee through the twisting streets, you hear the villa collapse behind you, a monument to ambition reduced to rubble. Somewhere in the darkness, Nicandros's voice rises, triumphant and terrible. The city has chosen its new master. But you are no one's pawn now, not the mistress's, not Callista's, not even Nicandros's. You are a shadow, running toward a future you will claim with your own hands, or die trying. The city of Athens lies before you like a sleeping beast, vast and unknowable. The narrow streets twist and tangle, lit only by the occasional torch sputtering against the night wind. You run until your lungs burn and your legs tremble, the sounds of chaos behind you fading into a low, distant roar. The villa, the mistress, Nicandros, everything you have known is gone, consumed by fire and betrayal. You slow your pace at last, ducking into a shadowed alley between two crumbling stone walls. Thessa is nowhere to be seen. The last glimpse you had of her was a pale blur disappearing into the maze of streets. You whisper her name into the darkness, but only silence answers. Whether she escaped or fell to the soldiers, you may never know. The city smells of smoke and salt. Somewhere to the south, near the port, a fire still smolders, its embers painting the sky a dull orange. From the agora, faint voices rise, angry chants, the clash of arguments spilling into violence. Nicandros's crimson-cloaked soldiers patrol the main roads, their boots striking the stones like war drums. You keep to the shadows, moving like a ghost. Hours pass. Exhaustion drags at you, but you dare not stop. Every corner holds danger, a drunken mob shouting Nicandros's name, thieves lurking like wolves, or the sudden gleam of a soldier's spear. Your fine garments, once a mark of status, now make you a target. You tear the silk at the hem, smearing it with grime until you resemble a commoner. Even so, the silver bells at your ankles betray you with each step, their faint chime a reminder of the cage you fled. At last, you find refuge beneath an abandoned colonnade overlooking a narrow square. You sink to the cold marble floor, hugging your knees. Your body aches, but the greater pain is inside, a hollow space where certainty once lived. The city feels impossibly vast. Where will you go? Who can you trust? You take out the folded parchment you have carried all this time. The ink is smudged from sweat and tears, but the words remain clear. Trust no one, not even the mistress. It is the only truth left to you. A sudden noise startles you, a soft footstep, a shadow detaching from the deeper darkness. You tense, ready to flee. But it is only an old woman carrying a basket of withered herbs. She squints at you, then shakes her head. "Another bird flown from a burning cage," she mutters. "Athens has many cages, few places to land." You open your mouth to ask for help, but she is already gone, her silhouette swallowed by the winding streets. Her words linger, though many cages, few places to land. As dawn creeps over the horizon, you rise and begin to walk again. You pass temples and markets, their marble facades streaked with soot. You cross a bridge where the river flows sluggish and gray. its surface littered with broken reeds and the occasional overturned offering bowl. Everywhere, signs of the festival remain: wilted garlands, spilled wine, masks trampled into the dirt. What was once celebration now feels like a battlefield's aftermath. Finally, you reach a hill overlooking the villa's ruins. Smoke still rises from the shattered walls. The once proud house is now a blackened skeleton against the pale morning sky. You stand there a long time, letting the sight sear itself into your memory. This is what ambition builds. This is what ambition destroys. As you turn away, a strange calm settles over you. You have no family, no household, no name that anyone in this city would recognize, and yet, that anonymity is freedom. You are no longer a symbol, no longer a pawn. You are only yourself, and that is enough to begin again. You descend the hill slowly, taking in every detail of the waking city. Merchants are already shouting in the agora, their voices sharp with greed and fear. Philosophers gather in corners, arguing over justice while soldiers march past with blank, unseeing eyes. Children chase each other through alleys, laughing, oblivious to the storm above their heads. Athens lives on, indifferent to the dramas of any one household. The city devours stories like yours and forgets them just as easily. As the sun climbs higher, you find yourself before the city gates. Beyond them lies the road to the countryside, to villages where no one knows your face. You step forward, then pause. Behind you, the bells at your ankles give a soft, final chime. You kneel and untie them, leaving them on the dusty stones, a relic of the life you have shed. When you rise again, you walk without hesitation. Each step carries you farther from the past, toward a future you cannot yet see. Perhaps Thessa is ahead of you on this road. Perhaps not. Perhaps Nicandros has already claimed the city, or perhaps another rival will rise to challenge him. None of it matters now. What matters is that you are moving. You are free, not because the world has given you freedom, but because you have taken it, breath by breath, step by step. As the gates close behind you, the wind carries a faint echo of the villa's fountain, a memory of water and stone. You do not look back. The road stretches before you, quiet and unbroken. The air grows warmer as the sun climbs, painting the hills in soft gold. Each footstep feels lighter, the weight of chains and silks and whispered intrigues falling away. The sounds of the city fade into a distant hum, replaced by the gentle rustle of olive trees and the steady rhythm of your breath. You let yourself slow. There is no need to rush now. The worst is behind you, and the future does not demand answers yet. You think of the fountain in the villa's courtyard, its song forever silenced, and then of the open streams ahead, clear and endless. The world is wide. You will find your place within it, even if that place is simply a quiet corner where no one knows your name. You will laugh again, speak words that belong only to you, and sleep beneath skies untouched by smoke or ambition. For now, you close your eyes and listen to the wind as it moves through the trees, carrying away the echoes of the past. Breathe deeply. The story is over, but its memory will live on, softened with time, like footprints fading in the sand. You are free, and that is enough.